And a great, good evening to all of you joining us tonight on the Marcy Week show. It's my honor to be with you and to start the show tonight. We've had a busy afternoon and we're certainly looking forward to tonight's show. A number of things that we're looking to cover tonight and, looking into so many matters that are happening in the country and so many matters that will have ramifications for all of us. So it's my joy, my privilege, and my honor to be with you tonight, the loyal opposition. And of course, Marcy will be joining us in just a little while. Those of you who were able to make it to the luncheon this afternoon would be aware of why she would not be here to start the show. She's had a lot of things to cover after everything is over. And certainly, we're looking forward to her joining us and her guests. And we will have a couple of persons on that will be a little of a surprise to you. But we're looking forward to a great show tonight. Let me take this opportunity to welcome all of you, Flojo Maloney and Jefferson Sobers. Now, as I said before many times, I'm not as good as Marcia is at this stuff, but I'll try my best. All right, Jefferson, so welcome to the show tonight. Let me see if I can just back up and welcome some of you. Judy, it was really nice to see you this afternoon, and thank you for your support and your kind words. Good evening to you. Real joy to have you with us tonight. Lucinda Aline, if I miss any of you tonight in terms of calling your name that were at the luncheon this afternoon, please forgive me, all right? Lucinda Aline, great to have you. Bajan Boy 246, good evening to you. And yet another bloody evening. And I really can't believe, something is wrong, guys. Something is wrong in this country. And it goes beyond politics. It's much bigger than that. And I wish I had the time and the platform to be able to expound on this, but Bajan Boy, you're right. Another bloody evening that we have. Matthew Brown, pleasure to have you with us this evening as well. Andrea Critchlow, joy to have you joining us back tonight. Thank you. Love those divine greetings. I really appreciate that. Thank you so very much. Doroni Hall, miss you today. Good night to you. Was hoping that I might have been able to see you just to say hello. So many of you I haven't actually seen in person since we, of course, I've been away with my wife and her medical condition. Gwendolyn Kinch, pleasure to have you with us tonight. And let me see who this is. Ronald Archer. Great to have you, Ronald. Good evening to you as well from Toronto. Wow. Good evening, Ronald. And cold Toronto, is it still cold up there? I tell you, Toronto, I've been there a couple of times in my life. That's where my sister was at one time vice consul of Barbados to Toronto. And so I've been there a couple of times. Greeting from Galbiz. Now, Gwendolyn Kinch. I am not all that great at geography, but Galbiz, I hope, is somewhere that I'll learn in a minute. I'm sure you will let me know. Laurie Bob, good evening to you. Ready for class. Okay, Laurie. I hope I will be able to help you within the context of that this evening. This is Shirley 4852. Good evening to you as well. And thank you, Laurie, for reminding us to like and share. Yeah, don't forget that. Like and share, both of them. All right, please. It helps with the algorithms with regards to the YouTube videos and so on. Good evening from Judith Ann Clark. Yes, Judith, we got you there already. Marva, that's Marva Hunt. Good evening to you as well. Tyrone Blackman, good evening to you. And yes, I mentioned Flo, Joe, and let me make sure I get this. Maschio by 41. Good evening to you. I hope I have that right. I'm biting my tongue here tonight, trying to get that right. Sandra Bruce, so great to have you with us again tonight. Good night to you too. Monica Ince, 3648, Beverly Prescott. I'm coming on down. Shirley. Yes, absolutely, Shirley. 4852. Something is definitely wrong in our little island. We have never seen things like we are seeing since the year has begun. And, I saw some comment made by the commissioner of police that crime was done or something like that. And I thought to myself, are we living in the same country, on the same planet? Crime is done when last year, if my mind serves me correctly, we had a record number of deaths, murders, killings in the country, and crime is down. Maybe I live somewhere else. I'm not sure. Annette Brewster, great to have you with us tonight as well. Houston Fields, and thank you, Marva, for helping us with that like and share aspect. Please make sure you are doing so. Mr. Alfred Benjamin, I've missed you, sir, for the times that I've been on. Have not been on for a number of sessions because we've had to do some work here at home to facilitate improvements where my wife's health conditions are concerned. And it's had quite an extensive toll, with it's physical work that has to be done in order to deal with all of the aspects of mildew and mold, that kind of thing, that have had a terrible impact upon her. We appreciate you keeping us in your prayers, that we will, of course, yes, Monica, in 2018, there were 49. But last year, Monica, I'm sure we passed 50, if my mind served me correctly, but maybe someone out there can bring me up to date on that. This is week 12, I'm told, of 2026. Shirley, is that true? Week 12, and we have 12 homicides already. God, no! This cannot be the Barbados that I know. This just simply cannot be the Barbados that I know. It's just alarming, and we have heard rhetoric before. This is one of the reasons that many people do not trust the government. Not just this one; they don't trust governments around the world because we hear a lot of rhetoric, and we don't see the results of the rhetoric that we have been hearing. And just this evening, as I was preparing for the show, I was reviewing some information I saw come up with regards to comments made by the Minister of Legal Affairs and Criminal Justice, Mr. Michael Lashley. And, I had to say, when are we going to get past all the rhetoric and get down to some serious solutions and serious answers for the challenges and problems that we're facing with crime and criminal activity and gang activities concerned in Barbados? And I noted a couple of comments that he made. And among those comments that he made, and I'm just trying to locate it here because I don't want to misquote him, among the comments that he made had to do with, yes, it says here, he pointed to troubling social trends that authorities believe are contributing to the problem, including substance abuse, mental health struggles, and increasingly dangerous patterns of drug consumption. I want to add to that, if I can, Mr. Lashley, the high cost of living and the lack of job opportunities. Those two things: the high cost of living and the lack of job opportunities. When people find themselves faced with a predicament where they are unable to pay bills, they're unable to really supply their homes with proper nutrition because of the issue of food. And when you consider that some of our young men have young children, and some of them are trying, let's be honest, some of the young men are trying to maintain things for their children and their families, even though they may not be wedded in the most ideal environment that we would want. They are trying to provide a life for their families and for their children. All of these young men are not necessarily men on the block and involved in gangs and all of that, but there's a lot that moves toward contributing and pushing them. Not that we're making excuses for them, but the reality is that the increased cost of living since 2018, and I want to remind the loyal opposition and the general public that during her tenure as leader of the opposition, the prime minister resisted the increase of the value added tax from 15% to 17.5%, implemented by the current minister. I can't remember what he is, Mr. You all know who I mean. The gentleman, you put his name up here for me in just a moment. He was Minister of Finance, and it was supposed to be a temporary measure. It turned out to be a permanent measure. It was opposed by the then opposition, now government, and we were told that on assuming government that would change. Here we are, 8 years down the road, and that has not changed. And I'm suggesting that one of the actions of government, if they are serious in convincing the Barbadian public that they're interested in the reduction of the cost of living in Barbados, one of the actions that would show that would be a reduction of VAT. Now, I don't have the time tonight to go through the figures that have been sent to me by several persons who are involved in economics and that type of thing. But we have been paying increased taxes as a people, as citizens of this country. And there is a significant income being made by the government. Thank you so much, Angel Humble. There has been a significant increase in the cost of living in Barbados over the last several years. I have told people in my travel, I've been traveling between here and the Cayman Islands for approximately 20 years. How time has flown. And I have come here from Cayman, and I have made the statement that Barbados is more expensive than the Cayman Islands, and people have challenged me on it. And I know what I'm saying, because I shop in the supermarkets in Grand Cayman and I shop in the supermarkets in Barbados. And I am telling you, Barbados is more expensive than the Cayman Islands. I can buy a pack of soda bix or Eclipse biscuits in Grand Cayman for around 60 cents US. That's about $1.20 Barbados. Can somebody tell me what is the price of a package of soda bix or Eclipse biscuits in Barbados? And that is fundamentally one of the um, proofs, something as simple as a package of biscuits, that goes to show how increasingly expensive our country has become. And as a result of that, you will see people being driven to desperate engagements and desperate measures in order to live in this country. I believe, not I believe, I was also reading recently an article that highlighted what Sir Hilary Beckles was stating concerning the declining registrations at the UWI, and why he made a broadcast of a comment regarding the increasing cost across the Caribbean, the rising poverty across the Caribbean. We are focused to some degree on Barbados. And as a result, he did indicate, and it has been shown, that there is declining registration among Barbadians in in the UWI here at Cave Hill campus, because there is, and people need to understand this. Thank you very much, Judy. $2.50 for soda bakes. $2.50 here in Barbados. And I'm paying $1.20, $1.30 in Grand Cayman. You work the maths and you come to the conclusions. All right. A package. I wish I had it to hand here. I had one a moment ago. A box of Kellogg's cornflakes. I think it's a 1,200 kilogram or 1,500 kilogram box. The large box of cornflakes and Kellogg's products is selling here for around $12.50 US, $35 Rice Krispies. You know the brand, you know the different things that I'm talking about. And in Grand Cayman, I can pick that up for about $4.50 US, $5.50 US. And I challenge anybody to deny that factor. That shows you how expensive our country has become. And tourists here have been indicating on more than one occasion, in more than one forum, how increasingly expensive Barbados has become. That is a reality, my friend. That is a reality. That is not a conspiracy being projected by myself where the matter is concerned. So we need to start looking quite seriously at what can be done to help to reduce the cost of living in Barbados. Now, mind you, I knew that from the time there was the matter arising out of Iran, that there would be all kinds of announcements being made concerning the increasing in prices in Barbados. Look, you don't even have to have anything happen for that to occur. Okay? You don't have to have a war. As soon as there was talk of the United States on tariffs, and I'm not here to get into any personality issues. I am tired of personality issues, so to be frank. I am not in opposition to an individual in Barbados because of personality. I am in opposition because of policy and how the process and procedures are carried out, right? And that is a reality for me. But from as far back as when there was talk to do with tariffs in the United States, prices started to shoot up. There weren't even any increase in prices as yet on containers. Prices started to shoot up. The moment the first missile was fired in Iran, the minister got on national, well, I'm not sure if he got on national TV or not, but announced nationally increase in fuel prices. Mind you, I'm sure, had a stock sitting in Barbados that did not have to be imported. I don't know how they work things. I'm not an economist, but I think I have a small degree of common sense that tells me that if I already have something in stock, I can hold prices for some time until it is no longer possible when the new shipment arrives. I've dealt in the motor industry, and we've seen that happen. I remember when we shifted from the Deutschmark in Europe to the euro dollar. And I remember that shift took a little time, and we were able to hold the price of vehicles as it occurred under the Deutschmark. And then they began to gradually increase under the euro dollar. Okay, so we are told immediately there are going to be price increases, and we saw a price increase immediately at the gas pumps here in Barbados. And these are things that if the government believes that these things are going to be happening, I expect that tomorrow when the budget is engaged, we are going to hear measures implemented that will help to reduce the cost of living in Barbados. And don't worry to talk to me about healthy foods, because we are importing the majority of our healthy food into Barbados. And ask the farmers, ask the farmers about it. You go into the supermarket, I can buy imported carrots cheaper than I can buy local carrots. Why? Because those farmers overseas are subsidized by their governments. Our farmers here, I am not going to say they don't get any help from government. I am going to leave the farmers here in Barbados to express that on their own. And maybe some of you all online are involved in the farming industry, and you can determine, you can express whether that is so or not. But you can get cabbage, you can get broccoli, and different things considerably less expensive imported into Barbados than our local producers are able to provide them, simply because those people overseas, their governments help to subsidize the production of their vegetables and crops, and as a result, you get a bit of a lower price here in Barbados. That's the reality. I walk into the supermarket and I want to eat healthy. I technically I do have to eat healthy because of some of the challenges. I'm going to have to begin to eat a lot healthier, I should say, because of some of the challenges that I'm having, physically from a medical perspective. But the reality is that very often, when you have limited financial resources to deal with, um, you buy what's the least expensive thing to buy. I remember there was a time people would walk into the supermarket and look at brand. If, and just by example, if they were going to determine whether they would buy Eve or whether they would buy Farmer's Choice or something of that nature. Today, I'm watching them. People walk up to the counters, up to the shelving, sorry, and they're looking at the price of Farmer's Choice and the price of Eve. And you can believe it that they're going to pick up the least expensive product that we have here in Barbados. So we have to really address this matter, because when we start to talk about crime, we have to understand how cost of living and poverty increase plays into that matter. And it's not just a issue to do with drugs. And he mentioned the aspect of psychological challenges, and these are things that people are having a problem with, because they're having to process all of these information. They're having to process the fact that I wanted to do this, I wanted to do that, I wanted to go to college, I wanted to go to university, now I've got to go and get a job, so my entire future of my life is now placed on hold. I have to wait now. And I understand, and we all understand how the whole aspect of geopolitics plays into this matter, because Barbados is not existing in isolation. We are in a world that is growing increasingly hostile to many aspects of what we would have called traditional life. Even our faith is being host, uh, um, is being attacked with hostility. And this is a reality. So that when we engage our aspects of geopolitics, and I wish I had the time to get into a bit of that, because we are part of a global environment. And there's some things that are positive about it, and there's some things that are negative about it. I don't know for sure if we'll get into it tonight, but the aspects that are being sounded abroad here in Barbados to do with, for example, a data center. I began to pay attention to this matter of data centers. And I began to ask with regards to the threats and risks of a data center. And I began to look at the country that carries major data centers, and that country is China. And when I began to pay attention to China, what I discovered is that China in itself has the largest data center in the world, largest data centers in the world and the significant risk that exists. The Chinese government operates secure data centers for national security, surveillance. Listen, hear that word? Surveillance and administrative functions. And listen to this: data centers in China are often subject to strict regulations under the cyber security law and data security law, which requires certain types of data to remain within the country. So that's data localization. So hear that word cybersecurity. Now, are we going to hear back again with regards to the cybercrime bill here in Barbados? Because one of the risks of the data center and the governmental control of the data centers has to do with the fact, and this is relating to China. Now, I want to remind Barbadians, we are continuing to act as the ostrich with its head stuck in the sand, hoping that things will go by and everything will be hunky-dory. We're not prepared to engage things that are not politically aligned and deal with things on a factual and truthful basis. Listen to what it says. Chinese data centers emphasize security, but also have higher government oversight than in many Western countries. Remember, the Chinese Communist Party met with the Barbados Labour Party at Roebuck Street. It was not the Chinese government meeting with the Barbados government. It was the Chinese Communist Party meeting with the Barbados Labour Party at a time when the Prime Minister foists the idea of it being unnecessary to have an opposition in our country. These are things that should cause all Barbadians to be very concerned. They also highlighted the fact of the centralized storage of citizens' personal data that can facilitate mass surveillance. When and if and when this begins to happen in Barbados, you cannot say that you were not told. You cannot say that you were not warned. And these are the realities. You have the cybercrime bill being connected to the digital ID, being connected to the data centers. These are things that are working hand in hand. And when you all hear the Prime Minister speak of the 2030 agenda, you need to look up the 2030 agenda and see what is being espoused. The 2030 agenda is driving many governmental policies around the world, including Barbados, where solutions are not homegrown, but are being imposed upon our country by the people such as the WEF, the World Economic Forum, a group of people, unelected entities who are making decisions for the financial and economic future of our world, and for that matter, even within the context of the agricultural sector and water resources. Everybody knows whoever controls the water controls the country. Whoever controls agriculture controls the country. You need to understand these things. And many people are ignoring them. Foreign businesses storing data in China may face legal obligations to give the government access in certain cases. Will that be the same thing here in Barbados? Will the government require of international entities the position that they must have access to their sensitive information? And what about our local personal information, my health records, my financial records, my income tax records, all of these things, which many people would tell you, but Rev, they already have access to this. That is true. They have access to a number of things, but the challenge that we are going to face going forward within the context of governmental surveillance is the fact that they are prone to use these aspects in order to control their citizens. And you don't have to believe me in the matter. When I did some research some time ago with respect to the World Economic Forum and their caution with regards to the digital ID, That was one of the things the World Economic Forum, one of the World Economic Forum papers highlighted, the capacity of the governments to not only carry out surveillance of their citizens, but to control their citizens. So let's not be ignorant of the fact that these things are a reality for us to face. This is what geopolitics is all about, where we still find ourselves, while we might be free of colonial control politically, we are not free of colonial control economically and financially. That is not something that we can say to ourselves that we are free of. And when one considers the philosophy of Mr. Barrow with regards to the whole aspect of our independence, and of course, we are now a republic. When we consider his position was that Barbados must maintain its economic sovereignty. That was his position. Yes, we understand there are restraints. We understand that there's need to borrow. We get that. But we must maintain our sovereignty, and we must not allow IMF or World Bank to determine for us what we are going to experience when it comes to what is grown within the context of our local environment. And these are some of the things that are troubling within the context of our country today. I remember looking back at some of the intents of Mr. Barrow. And you will recall starting the Democratic Labour Party back in 1961. And just let me make this clear. Look, I'm not a member of the DLP. I'm not a member of the BLP. I used to be, but I have left them. Some people may not be happy with that, but I've chosen to represent my country. I forgot to do it tonight after the national anthem. And I pledge allegiance to my country, Barbados, and to my flag. I do not pledge. The only other entity I pledge allegiance to outside of my country and my flag is the Lord Jesus Christ. I don't pledge allegiance to any other individual on the planet. And neither will I put my head on the block for any individual on the planet. The good book warns me that putting your trust in humanity is a risk. Don't trust the arm of flesh, is how I think it says it, for it will fail you. Not it might, it will fail you. So I don't put my neck on the block for a single human individual. I am not going to do that because people can change. Circumstances can cause people to do things that they would not normally do, which is why government needs to pay attention to the increasing risk in Barbados of the cost of living. Now, I saw a comment here tonight with regards to blaming the wars and so forth for our increased cost of living. Noel, the reality is we are not the only people who are experiencing this, but I live here. I do not live anywhere else in the world. And the reality is that that is a fact. And when we talk about, and I see what you got there, when you all stop supporting our local farmers because you want to save a dollar, now you will all wake up. But the reality is, Noel, you talk about saving a dollar, but you must understand the limited financial resources that people have to live with and a reducing financial resource they have to live with when they go to the pump, have to pay more for gas. They have to pay more for the electric bills. The electric company has already warned us of increase in cost of electric bills. It means that their disposable income, Noel, that could possibly have been used to support their local farmers, even if their local farmer products are a little more expensive, and in some instances, a lot more expensive. What the government can do, which is within the government's purview, is to subsidize the farmers. If you're going to go out and borrow $267 million for roads and then come back and borrow another 300 and something million dollars for roads, and we can't see any change to the road infrastructure in Barbados, don't tell me that the Barbados government cannot help subsidize farmers. Don't tell me that. Because you can go out and borrow money for all kinds of things, and we still don't see anything emerging where what you borrowed is concerned. I'm now beginning to see one or two Barbara Green roads turning up around the place after people keep a lot of noise. But what about housing? A $60 million project that has been brought into disrepute without accountability and transparency, and people want to talk to me about increased costs, about comparative costs with farmers. You can spend some of that money to help subsidize farmers, so that farmers, if you sit down and have a dialogue and a conversation with the farmers to help reduce the cost of living in Barbados as it relates to healthy foods, I'm sure there is a lot that the Barbados government can do to help to reduce the cost of living in Barbados. Don't tell me they can't do that. If they can't do that, then they have no right governing the country, because we've always had governments that have done things to help reduce the cost of living. Some of you have lived through the fuel crisis. I think it was 1976 to 78, somewhere in there. Some of you lived through those days when some adjustments had to be made in order to bring the cost of living down. Things can be done. It simply takes people sitting down together and seeing what can be done, rather than you have one or two big McGuffies walking around thinking that they have all the solutions and the answers to all of the challenges that we're having in Barbados. And as a result of that, voices are not being heard that can come to the table with solutions. And I've talked with several people that I've asked them, I said, but why don't you all approach the government? And it is like, what's the point? Nobody wants to hear what I have to say. Yes, fuel crisis. Thank you, Barbara, of 1973. That's when it was. I appreciate years passed by so fast, huh? But that is what it was, the fuel crisis of 1973. We need to be able to dialogue. The Democratic Labour Party does not have anybody in Parliament, but the government still has the capacity to sit down with the Democratic Labour Party and put their heads together in the interest of what is best for the country and for the citizens of this nation. One of Mr. Barrow's and let me make sure I get it right. One of his motivations was to help the alleviation of poverty and not the increase of the rich elitists in the country. You drive around this country, and all you're seeing in this nation is construction going on and specific names on those projects. You can't see anything on any other name on the projects. And people want to talk to me about poverty. We now have poverty expanded to include what would have been considered the middle class, who have to pay a car loan, a mortgage, send children to school, pay for gas. These are the matters that need to be engaged and addressed. And I make no apologies when I say I will never commend the government for doing its job, because that's what we employ you to do. We employ you to fix roads. We employ you to bring down the cost of living. We employ you to put up street lights. We employ you to ensure water is in every district and pit toilets are a matter of history. We employ you to do that. So don't expect kudos when you're doing your job. Nobody gets the kudos for doing their job. It's when they go beyond doing their job and do something extraordinary that you hear kudos. Well, I am still waiting to see something extraordinary since 2018. I have seen nothing extraordinary. And I mean that with all of my heart. Nothing extraordinary. I've even had people talk to me about persons such as myself getting involved in politics, and if that is right. Listen, the greatest political invader was God himself. If you want to find out who set up and removed political parties and kings and governments, You need to read your book and see how involved he was in the politics of the day when his people and their enemies were being engaged. He was very involved. As a matter of fact, there's a verse that says this: justice and righteousness are the foundations of God's throne. So when you are going to talk about what is right and what is just, you are barking up God's tree. You're speaking to matters that concerns God, because the earth is his, the fullness thereof, the people, and all that dwell therein. And that's the reality. So I have always felt that the leaders of churches in Barbados ought to be understanding that their role is bigger than their little assembly. And when I say little, I don't care if you got 1,000 or 2,000 people. It is little when you consider the fact that you ought to be pastoring and leading your country of 280 something thousand people. That was what the men of God of the Old Testament were doing. These were the people who ministered to their nations and to their governments. And they were not afraid to tell their governments when they were wrong. They were not afraid to tell their governments when they were going down the wrong road. Today, we can hardly hear a spiritual leader's voice saying to the government, you're going down the wrong road. I understand they got an upcoming meeting to discuss with the churches how to engage the $5 million that the government has set aside for churches. I'm waiting to hear what is going to come out of a meeting of that nature. I'm waiting, but I'm going to let that pass for tonight. But I just want to say to you that we are a part of a global environment. What is happening within the context of the geopolitical environment around the world will have an impact on us. Yes, we get it. But we have intelligent enough people. This is one of the things that Arabara pushed, was free education all the way up into secondary schools, expansion of schools, scholarships, and teacher training. All of these are things that were on his mandate and on his agenda. He did not just come to power to be a person of power. He came because he had the interests of this country at heart and the people of this country at heart. And so he introduced the aspect of free education and human development. These were things that he reformed within the context of his governance. And this dramatically increased literacy and professional development in Barbados. And that is the facts. Those are the facts. I'm not even going to waste my time to get into the what I call it again, the forgotten or something 10 years or some foolish statement. I don't understand how you can embrace people into your government who were a part of what you call the lost decade, I think is what they call it. You can bring them in and embrace them, which suggests to me that in truth and in fact, you only engage the aspect of the lost decade for political purposes. You were not being honest with the people of this country, because there was a lot that happened during what they call the lost decade. But you're going to take the same fellas, Michael Lashley and Chris Sinclair, who were high up in that government of that lost decade, and bring them into your government. Well, to me, what it says is that decade was not really lost at all. That decade was an excellent decade because you found it within yourself to embrace two of the architects of that lost decade into your government today. So what you are doing in truth and in fact is you are misleading the people in order to obtain power. And I remember I remember the slogan years ago, we want power, we want power. I remember that. But I can tell you that without saying it, this government that has now held 3 elections that should have been 15 years apart, squashed into 7. And you're going, Ask me who want power? Anytime you can take 15 years of democratic elections and compress them into 7 years without saying a word, it tells me who wants power. Because in every instance, what you did is you took advantage of the lack of preparation. And it is impossible for a political party to prepare itself when you bring 3 elections within 7 years. That means, and I think I was reasonably good at mathematics. 3 into 7 is 2 point something, but it in 3, which means that every successive administration, we've only had less than 3 years to prepare for an election. And that was done deliberately. It was a plan, and I believe it was a plan from the very beginning to ensure that we keep power. We keep power. And I must tell you, very few things disappoint me today. But some of the people who are sitting in the Barbados Labour Party government today are gross disappointments to me, because some of them I expected better from. I'm not going to call any names because I am not going to let anybody put in a defamation lawsuit on me. I'm not calling any names, but some of those people know well who I mean. They know well who I am referring to, because we expected something different from them. We expected that some of them would allow their Christian upbringing and their Christian background to affect their engagement of governmental policy. Now, we have a governmental amendment to our, I don't know if it's the Constitution. I would have to leave the experts to tell me that. But you can't cross the floor now unless you go back to the electorate because you got in on a party. I want to remind Barbadians, people did not get into office simply because of a party. You had 60 plus independent people present themselves to the citizens of this country. I understand some of them had political party affiliation. But once you are elected and you walk through them parliament doors, the only thing that exists in parliament is government and opposition. Parliament does not possess BLP or DLP in parliament, as neither one of them is recognized in the House of Assembly or in the Senate. To the best of my knowledge, neither one of them is registered in the Ministry of Intellectual Property. You can't start a church in this country unless you register as a nonprofit or charity. You have to register. But we have two political parties, and I'm not knocking them, but just don't deny the right of a person to object to something that you are putting forward as a policy that will affect the lives of hundreds of thousands of people, and tell them you can't disagree with me, because if you disagree with me, I will remove you from my party. And once I remove you from the party, you have to go back to the electorate, because in the House of Assembly and the Senate, there is no party. The only thing there is the individual. Now, I've covered a lot of ground tonight. I've covered a number of subjects, and I've done that because I'm not often on, to be honest with you, and there are reasons for that. Not because I don't want to be on, but because my schedule now is a very hectic one, as you all would know. And I want to thank all of you for your kind comments and your support for myself and my wife during the time that she's had to engage her health matters. And she's a priority to us as a family. and a priority to me, certainly, and we're making those adjustments. I'm not perfect in all of those areas, but we are making the adjustments in order to ensure that her safety and her health is our priority today. And so there are sometimes I'm unable to be on because of work that is being done with regards to adjustments within the context of our home. It's a very old home. She'll tell you it's over 200 and something years old. I think she did a research on it. But these are homes that carry the wood shavings in the wall. I don't know if y'all remember any of that. Carry the wood shavings in the wall and the shingles on the outside of the house, that kind of thing. And as a result of that, there's some health issues that are arising from that component, and we're doing our best to try to address that. Well, my time is quickly going by. I know that we're expecting, I believe, Maxine to be on tonight in just a few minutes. And I just want to say what a joy it is for me on the few occasions I've had to share this platform with Maxine and with Glyne and with several others. And of course, always an honor to share it with Marcia. But I'm always very honored to share the platform with persons that I can learn from and persons that drive me to do research and drive me to ensure that I get on top of the game and know what I'm speaking about and can provide significant information to me that will help me, in terms of addressing the needs and concerns of the people in our country. I'm not just interested in getting people out of hell and into heaven. I'm interested in people being able to live a life on earth that God expects them to live. I read in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 8 where the Lord says, it's I that give you the power to obtain wealth. I wish I had the time to get into this. In other words, he's saying, I'm the one who gives you the capacity to be successful. And in the very beginning of the book, he says that when he made man, he said to them, be fruitful and multiply, replenish the earth and subdue it. That is communicating to me that God sponsors and expects us as human beings to be successful in what we do. He wants to see us eradicate poverty. He wants to see us eradicate hunger. He wants to see us eradicate injustice and unrighteousness. These are not just spiritual words that people like to hold on to and talk about in church. These are words that must make a difference to your life and my life, where we live and where we work and in what we do. We should be people who can be depended upon for excellence because we know God. And so I really appreciate the time that I have had to share. And in a few moments, I know Marcy is going to be joining us and Maxine is going to be joining as well. And they're going to be taking things on from that point as I have to slip off because I have an extra early engagement tomorrow morning. And after the long day that I've had today, not long before the lunch, and oh my goodness, within the 7 minutes I have, I said to several people today, this is the first time in the history of politics in Barbados that I've ever attended an event that has celebrated the party that has lost. And today we celebrated those young men and women who made themselves citizens of Barbados, who made themselves available to represent the people of this country in the face of some very challenging environments, in the face of significantly large sums of money spent by the government to ensure that they did not have an opposition in Parliament. But I want to make this clear. There may not be an opposition in Parliament, but there's an opposition in Barbados, and it's called the loyal opposition. And the Democratic Labour Party will survive. Trust me, they will not only survive, but like a phoenix rising from the ashes, it will return. It will return because Barbadians, I trust them enough for them to know that this is in the best interest of our country. As you know, tomorrow is budget day, and on Tuesday, March the 17th at 6:30, the citizens' budget reply will be engaged at the Democratic Labour Party's George Street Auditorium in that would be George Street, of course, and where we'll be dealing with the real issues with the real people, with real talk, where people get a chance to respond. You see, you can get up tomorrow and you can talk all the kind of things you want to talk in Parliament. You can chastise everybody who has anything to say against you. But sooner or later, the shoe is going to be on the other foot. And there are people who will not forget what you have done. I know one person who will not forget what you have done, and his name is Jesus Christ. He will not forget what you have done. And many times governments seem to think that they can do whatever they like and they don't have to pay a price. And they have forgotten that there is a God above who neither sleeps nor slumbers. And as I've had to say to one prime minister before, God does not need you to be either unpopular or to be out of government to remove you from government. God has been known to remove governments that have won elections just like that. And my advice to every single member of parliament is to be vigilant and be careful and watch how you are dealing with the matters of the people of God, because this country, just like the rest of the world, you did not put it here. God put it here. And sooner or later, accounts will be ordered and people will have to give an account. The prime minister will have to give an account. Every minister of government will have to give an account. Don't think that you are Lord God and nobody can rule over you. I am going to caution you. The same person that gives you the capacity to rule for his own purposes has the capacity to remove you, and he doesn't need an election to do that. Just remember that. All right? Well, my time has long gone, and I want to thank all of you for being so gracious and so kind. Appreciate all of your comments. As I said, I'm not the sharp individual that Marcia is with all those comments coming up on the screen. I'm still learning a lot to do with technology, believe you me, and every day is like something new appears. And I'm happy, nevertheless, to be able to contribute to the educational process of Barbadians. And I hope one day that I will be able to talk a little more about the 2030 agenda so that you will be informed as to what to expect and anticipate in Barbados. And I hope to be able to share a bit more in terms of geopolitics, because that's the world that we live in today, with what happens around the world is impacting us. And the policies that we're seeing implemented are not necessarily homegrown. So I'm just waiting then for you to get that thumbs up from Madam Maxine. Once she gives me that thumbs up, I'll be happy to bring her in and have her begin her segment. I know she's putting things together, and I'll just hold the fort until I get her thumbs up. And don't. Okay, great. I didn't see the hand. Your hand went up past the camera. Maxine, good evening. It's so nice to have you on the show and to see you again twice in one day. That's a good thing, I believe.
Yes, I believe so. How are you doing? It's good to hear you.
Well,
I'm happy that things are looking up for your wife, and I trust they will continue to improve.
Thank you
today
so
was
much.
A good day. You know, I thought it was a very
Yes.
good gesture, and I have to say thanks to Dave, Marcia, and the team. I think it was very well appreciated.
Yes, it was. I think like I said to someone, it's the first time I've ever seen the losing party celebrated. And I think that should go down in history. Really should go down in history, where
It
we're
should.
concerned.
These
So
are unusual times in Barbados, and I think people
yes.
appreciate that some rather unusual things continue to happen. I am saddened as I was holding on. I was there reading about a double homicide today.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
we are not even into the into the middle of March. We're just approaching that. Well, we're just about the middle of March now, and we're looking at probably 12, 13. Nowadays, you don't even hear all the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And that is frightening. I really pray that Barbadians will generally reflect, because a lot of these things seem to be drug and gun and crime related, but we also see a level of violent ignorance, as I call it. I recall hearing of a Barbadian who came home for the Gold Cup. I don't know if you heard that. And it didn't come through the news. I heard it on brass tacks, because I believe David Ellis knew the person. And senseless situation where somebody may be charged for another murder or something, because of ignorance. And it is unfortunate.
Yes, it
But
is.
we as a country, and I I call him the de facto attorney general, because we have two persons in similar positions. I've heard of the balance, the distribution of responsibility, but to all intents and purposes, the person I'm hearing speak on critical matters is not the named attorney general, but seems as though he is, as I say, the de facto attorney general. We need to hear what's happening. We went through the last 3.5 years um, with an acceleration in murders, but we're here to talk about some other things.
Yes, yes,
But I think that is dampening the spirits of so many Barbadians.
yes,
And I don't
yes,
know if people
absolutely.
really understand. It is dampening people's spirits. And I hope that we can find a way to address some of these things.
And I hope to, Maxine, in our context, we always want to give good news, even
Mm-hmm.
in bad news. We
Yeah.
always hope that there is a
Mhm.
little silver lining
Good news.
somewhere, in the
Yes.
midst of all of it. And maybe this is something that we can search for in the midst of it that can give
Well,
hope.
interesting. You mentioned Miss, because I'm going to be talking about a ministry called Miss. But before I get into that, because while we dissect these ministries, and we anticipate the budget and the continued discussion of government expenditures, we have communities that are very much in need of what I would call re-energizing, revival,
Mhm.
the reinstallation of certain values. And you were talking today about the losing candidates of, and some people, well, the candidates of the Democratic Labour Party. Let me be very specific.
Mhm.
And I can say to Barbadians that my interaction with many of them is that they will continue to work in communities. Now, some may argue that there are members of parliament and there are 30 of them. But one of my hopes is that in the process of engaging citizens, there can be a reinstilling of the value of self-sufficiency, integrity, decency, and so on. Because though I worry that some fundamental values, and as a pastor, you can relate to this, some of the fundamental values that made us who we were and who many of us still are as Barbadians, those things seem to be eluding some people. And we
Yes,
have to
yes.
find a way, independence, community spirit, all of these things. And it is not about throwing large sums of money necessarily, because we have seen the negative consequence of consequences of splurging large sums in areas that are not beneficial to people.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
that
Yes.
that I mean, as I sit and listen and read of these continued, I call it the continued carnage that we are seeing. Our young men, because for the most part, it is young Black men who are dying.
Yes, yes.
Those are the people who are dying. And I really ask myself, when we talk about the Ministry of Industry, Innovation, Science, and Technology, when we dissect this, what are we doing for our young people,
Mm-hmm.
and more especially our young men? Because I have sat in places where I recognize that if we look at other countries around the world, our young women in some countries are severely disadvantaged. In Barbados, we cannot say that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Barbadians, women have equal access to education from nursery to tertiary. And in fact, when you focus on university education, 2 to 1 women are taking advantage on average.
Yes,
So
yes.
what are we doing in other areas of tertiary non-university education? When I look at this Ministry of Innovation, what are we doing to tap into the innovative ideas of our young people, especially our young men who have not been attracted to the traditional disciplines offered in our university system? What are we doing to help them to harness that energy? you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
these are the concerns I have when I look at these numbers. When I listen to ministers speak some nice fancy words, that at the end of the day, when I hear them, I say, but what did he say? What did she say? What does it mean?
Yes,
You know,
exactly, exactly. It's I saw that, Maxine, as I read the comments in the newspaper by the minister of what crime or whatever it is, and I thought to myself, all nice rhetoric, but how is you talk about a gun court for a solution to crime, and why are we not addressing things at the root cause, and dealing with things or environments that could contribute to people having to go a particular direction? Because I don't believe all of these people who are involved in crime and violence are necessary a part of criminal gangs and whatnot. I'm sure some of them are not. I'm sure
no,
some of them have had dreams and aspirations and now just feel hopeless about the matter.
you're correct. I think you see, at the heart of our situation with crime, we have to look at remedies. In other words, after the fact, we have to look at what are the factors contributing to criminal activity. And that takes us to the beginning. And I must
Yes.
say this. A lot of work was done because I sat on the Commission on Crime, that, and I go to what the Democratic Labour Party did. The document is there. The Prime Minister said that she was going to have it for weekend reading. Um, I would hope that before he departed, the now Minister of Legal Affairs and Criminal Justice, I describe him as the de jure Attorney General, not de jure, sorry, de facto. The de jure one is Mr. Abrams. He's the name Attorney General, but I've heard Mr. Lashley speaking. I recommend that if he's not read it before, to read that, because at the heart of all of these things, we have to find ways to save our young people so that they can get into science and technology, get into innovation, get into addressing the deficits in our industrial part of our economy, if you see what I mean, because these things are not disparate or separated. These things
No,
must be
no, they're not.
connected.
But
They must be connected.
I listened to a show, Maxine, that you all did. I don't recall if you were on that show, but we were talking. I think it was Alvin was talking about athletics and identifying,
Yes,
athletes at a very young age, because there's so much that young people can do in the realm of sports: cricket, football, basketball, athletics. But where is the transitional process from when you can identify those abilities, maybe from a primary school level, all the way up through secondary school, all the way up through university? Because, as you know, you have to maintain certain educational grades in the United States to be a part of the top sporting facilities there. So
that's
where's the
correct.
provision for that? Where some of those kids can advance in their particular area while not losing out on their educational process as well.
Yeah, now that's correct. I mean, when we talk about innovation, what are some of the psycho I'm thinking in terms of developing the minds. I'm not a psychologist or whatever, but what is it that we can do to develop some of the minds of our children to be winners? I'll give an example. I sit and I listen to young athletes, school children speaking, and it is usually a monosyllabic one word responses. We have to get our young
Yes.
people confident to speak, to engage. And sometimes I feel for the reporters because they're trying their best to get the children to say more than one or two words, in terms of that. I just am concerned that we are not connecting sufficiently with the people. And that concern extends when I look at this 185 million. I call it 186 because the funds allocated for the Ministry of Industry, Innovation, Science and Technology is $185 million. Let me give you the exact figure: 185,752,147. Now that figure is massive when you compare it to the ministry. This is a new minister. He was appointed, was it last year? I don't think he was a minister for a year before the election was called. I may be wrong. I have to go back and check it. And then I look at a ministry which has some parallels, and that's the ministry of Minister Kerry Simmons, which is the Ministry of Energy, Business Development and Consumer Affairs, where he gets less than half. In fact, his ministry gets 81 million. Now, you could argue that the numbers should reflect, or well, anybody, this should be the case. The numbers should reflect the role, purpose, impact, and ultimately the outcomes that this ministry should generate. I heard you talk about a data center, and my question really is, what exactly are they proposing? Because there are data centers and data centers. But you raised something which I found very interesting, and that is the question of surveillance. It sent me to I call it the big book, and I am going to read for you something from this book here, because it speaks to the strategic goals. Now, when you go to the estimates book, lit, the first thing that you see about a ministry would be its strategic goals. And they have 3, 6, it looks like 9 of them. And I think I'll read them, and then I want you to react to what I read, first of all, and then I would say something. The strategic goals of the Ministry of Innovation, Industry, Science and Technology, and I've called the name so people remember, are the following: lead the digital transformation agenda across the public service. Facilitate continuous training and upskilling in information communication technologies for all persons. Lead the industrial transformation across Barbados, thus facilitating the growth of micro, small, and medium-sized agencies, allowing them to export their products and services. Create synergies to support a culture of innovation and creativity toward the development of businesses and entrepreneurship within communities. Foster the creation of a national innovation system. Ensure that the implementation of digital solutions is customer-centric. Implement and strengthen cybersecurity measures. Ensure the protection of individuals' data privacy rights. Preparation and promotion of the use of standards. I will start with the last one. Okay, so you've heard them. Let me ask you if any of this said anything to you, and what is your reaction, if you can remember half of what I would have said.
But to be honest with you, Maxine, all that was running through my mind while you were speaking was how are you going to do all this? what is the process? How are you going to achieve all these things? It's a nice list. It's a
Mm-hmm.
nice list, but is it really addressing where people are at, not only now, but where they're going to be, and how do you intend to get them to where you want them to be? And of course, when you speak about things to do with cybersecurity, the first thing that comes to my mind is the attempt to silence the voices of opposing individuals where the cybercrime bill is concerned, because that's the same thing that they've just done with the crossing, the bill to do with the crossing of the floor, to restrict the
Yeah.
opposing voices. And then the last thing you commented with regards to in terms of the data center, um, surveillance. I'm sorry, Maxine, but I do not trust any government that is embarking on a large scale or whole scale aspect of the compilation of data information to do with its citizens, because we have all seen what happens when governments do that. We've all seen that.
And this is one of the concerns, because as I was looking through these, you realize that they're a whole list of things, but they don't even expand on them when they broke it down. For example, I was looking for one of the biggest expenditures in terms of those that list of expenditures. For example, they have something here called digital solutions, application of modern information technology. Now, this relates to development and deployment of solutions for smart public service delivery and protecting and managing the integrity, security, availability, and reliability of Barbados's digital assets. Well, we know what has been happening. And you look at this and you ask yourself exactly what you're doing here. There's a provision. Now they're protecting all of this. There's a total provision under this program of just about $2.5 million. Okay. But then you go and you look at some other ones. There was a huge amount of money spent on cyber. Okay, this cybersecurity one here. Okay. So application of modern information technology to implement or to strengthen cybersecurity measures to ensure that all ICT and information systems are protected and to mitigate, but I got to mitigate it, but it's supposed to be to mitigate against ransomware and cyber attacks. Now, in this one, they have professional services of about what they have here, maintenance of property, operating expenses of about this one, let me see, operating at $15.4 million, professional services, $8 million. Now, clearly, I assume in something like this, that this is in total, this particular section of the ministry will get a budget of $25 million. But, my question is, can we get some particulars in terms of what that does, in achieving, I have found another one, in achieving the objectives. Now, you would recall that we spoke of the establishment of some agency called GovTech sometime last year. You might have heard that discussion. Mm-hmm. Now, this one, all it says is this agency will work with experienced stakeholders to provide technology and digital solutions to improve the lives of all citizens, as well as to advance innovation. I don't know what that means. I mean, yes, you need to be brief, but here is what's happening. This ministry has an allocation of $33 million. I would say, 33 million, because it's 33,089,000, right? Allocated for that particular activity. And professional services takes up $30,160,000. Now it says to will work with experienced stakeholders. And if I go to the notes, because there are some explanatory notes in here, right? GovTech. Now remember, this is an agency that is getting more than a third of the money that the Ministry of Energy, this section of this ministry is getting more than a third of the money that the Ministry of Energy, Business Development and Consumer Affairs is getting. And here is the explanatory note, really establishment of a GovTech agency. GovTech Barbados Limited, 316, and I can look and tell you the 316 says grants to public institutions. Interestingly enough, they don't give you a figure, but they tell you in the notes, GovTech Barbados will be giving grants to nonprofit organizations to cover salaries, honoraria, to a board and other operating expenses, inclusive of professional services. And then for 16, which has, again, for 16 doesn't have a figure for 2026-27, grants to public institutions to cover capital expenditure. My question, therefore, is why is it that you, and I pull this out and we can go through all of them to look at them. Why is it that in a ministry that is getting a significant amount of money, it is getting more money than the Ministry of Energy, Business Development and Consumer Affairs? It is getting more money. Well, then you add that and the money that let's say, I will have to go back and see how much money it is that Foreign Affairs would get. If I could check the number, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is getting 80 million. So in essence, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Energy put together don't get this amount of money, right? Because one is 80 and one is 81 million. And here you have one part of this ministry getting $30 million allocated for professional services. But when you look at the explanatory notes, there's nothing in there to give you a clue as to the nature and importance of what they propose to do, what areas of activity, etc. And it really makes you wonder, where is that money going? And moreover, it is in the hands of a new minister, one that we did not hear anything from, basically for the time that he was appointed minister prior to the call of the last election. And somebody I listened to the other day, and at the end I asked myself, what exactly did Minister Reid tell us about what is to happen in that ministry? I don't know about you, Pastor Ferdinand, but that is a cause for concern for me.
Well, you know, what I'm finding is I'm sorry to put it this way, Maxine, a lot of rhetoric, but no substance. You know, it's easy to talk. The old saying was, talk is cheap. You know, but when it comes to putting down processes, procedures, policy, you know, what you intend to accomplish, what you expect the outcome to be. Because at the end of the day, I am asking that question, what are the outcomes? Because if you're going to be spending money, for example, if you're going to put $80 million into housing, I would expect that at the end of a year, if you're going to put 80 million into housing for a financial year, I would expect to see $80 million worth of houses constructed by the end of the financial year. Now, what are your goals, so to speak? What are you looking to accomplish within the context of this particular ministry of which you speak? What are the outcomes, and do you have a timeline? By June we expect this, you know. Maxine, when I did my little monkey job with selling cars, I had timelines, you know, Maxine. I had to be able to tell my management staff, I expect to achieve sales of 15 vehicles by X, 30 vehicles by Y. I had timelines for something as simple as that. And I wasn't dealing with multi-million dollars worth of value.
You're correct. In fact, one of the comments here, I think, is XC Davis saying, and I'm aware of that when she said that. Well, the person intended to say Maxine, consultants' fees are usually on the perfect. That I know very well, and that is where my question is: what exactly are we going to be paying people those monies to achieve? Because, and I reiterate the point you made, Pastor Ferdinand. I mean, I listened to the minister, and he was fluid. Let me put it that way. He was fluid. But then at the end, I always tell people they're persons who are simplifiers. They will simplify the point they're making so it becomes easily understood. Or sometimes I don't like using buzzwords, but I would have to use the word buzzword here. I've used it before. You use a lot of technical terms or jargon from particular disciplines or whatever you may talk about, if it's entrepreneurship, because what I tried to do was to look at the broad areas that fall under this ministry and try to capture from what he was saying, what exactly is the core function or the main functions or purpose or role of this ministry. So that when, as you said, can we then identify a set of clear objectives, a clear results? Let me keep it simple, a clear set of results that we want to see. Is there any evidence, having been part of this ministry, because he wasn't the first minister in the ministry, but having inherited this ministry prior to elections, could you speak to some tangible outcomes, some tangible results?
Correct.
My recollection is that the BIDC, it's called Export Barbados, falls under this ministry. Can he point us to the most recent annual report and tell us, based on that annual report, what did the agency achieve in the last financial year? These are the things that we want to hear. Don't only tell us that, these fancy words, that you get lost in the words and then you say, but as I said before, but what exactly was he saying? What can we expect? Did he really tell us what to look forward to seeing change in Barbados, given that amount of money, and given the importance of industry, given the importance of innovation as we talk about entrepreneurship? Because if we really want to see commerce and industry, manufacturing, services contribute to not only employment, but earnings, both in domestic currency and foreign currency, we want to hear something that we can hold on to, and we can run with it and say, yes. When I go back and look at our annual report for the year 2024, 25, well, the 25 would probably not be out, but as far as I could see, there has not been a report of the BIDC laid in Parliament. I think the last one would have been 2020 or 2021. So where can you point us to see some concrete results? Because the part of the way to judge what's going to happen is to look at the results, of the agencies that fall under the particular ministry. And so I really am concerned that we need to hear from the minister and from government, from government, what can we anticipate to be the main output of this ministry? And as you said, we talk about cybersecurity, we talk about the data center. Now, interestingly enough, we need to hear some more about that, because at the end of the day, there are data centers and there are data centers, because I am a layperson when it comes to these. But basically, at the heart of it, you're talking about storing, managing, and processing data, from And this can range from organizational or enterprise IT. It can talk about AI. Artificial intelligence is a word that people are throwing around these days. We hear talk about a digital economy, about digitizing the public service and public services. All of that would be part of this, but what exactly are you doing? How is it going to be set up? What kinds of controls are you putting in place, not only in terms of security, but one of the things about data centers now, we have to look at the operational implications of this thing. On what scale are we talking about? Because with data centers, you're talking about sophisticated computer equipment. So the whole question of energy consumption. So come and talk to us some more. I mean, if he had spent a minute or two in the presentation, giving us some information to help us feel comfortable, because remember what you said about citizens' interests being protected, cybercrime legislation that has not gone away. Y'all would have done a great job in fighting this thing in terms of trying to protect the interests of citizens where it is important. But I am concerned, to say the least, that this process of sharing information on these allocations, particularly given the size of the projected deficit. Well, tomorrow we will hear how they will tackle that, hopefully. But I am concerned that we have, as taxpayers, to say to government, we need greater assurances of a couple of things. One, that when you allocate these funds, that they're not allocated to nebulous initiatives and so on. We heard of GovTech for the longest while. In here, there's also a budget for something called Future Barbados. I don't know if you remember that, but I went looking to try to understand what Future Barbados was all about, and I came across somebody who I believe was or is the executive director of Future Barbados. But in reading about this individual, it didn't help me any further. Because, and if I could share this with you, let me look for Future Barbados among these numbers here, because that also is important. I flagged it here in what I call this big book.
But do you recall, Maxine? I think it was under the Arthur administration. I was just looking back to see if I could put my hand on it. There was something to do with an entire I would call it manifesto on the future of Barbados. I don't know if you recall that. I can't remember what it was called.
I would have to go and look for it. I suppose
me too.
when they were
Me
talking
too.
about it becoming a developed nation.
Something along that line.
Yes. But I
Something
would have
along
to
that
go back.
line.
But I don't know if this captures that. But here's what, because this thing came to my attention previously, and I would have had a conversation with Marcy about it. But within the estimates this year, under the Ministry of Innovation, Industry, Science and Technology, the program is called National Transformation. And the program statement is to formulate and implement national transformation that improves the quality of life in Barbados. That's the broad program. And within that broad program of national transformation, you have something called Future Barbados. That's a sub-program. And this sub-program, there's a statement that goes with it, and I will read it for you. This sub-program will be a catalyst for the government of Barbados's long-term growth and development agenda. The principal objectives are to stimulate and expand the Barbadian economy and develop a new national consciousness. in in terms of the allocation of monies here, there's an allocation. The actual, I have to go back sometime. The actual expenditure in 2024-25 would have been $1,623,208. In 2025-26, which would have been last year, there was an approved estimate of 1,721,000, and then there was a revised estimate 2025 of 2,543,000. Now that was last year. It went up by almost $1 million between the approved and the revised estimates, and the budget estimates this year is $6,524,850. And of that figure, you have professional services of $3,270,000. And if I could, and I know that Marcia has, I thought I saw Marcia just now. If I could look at the note that goes with that, let me see if there's an explanatory note for Future Barbados. Digital infrastructure explanatory notes, head 31, product. I don't see an explanatory note for Future Barbados. It would have been interesting to have one, because recognize that we are talking about a significant increase of more than, it's almost 3 times the revised budget, because it has gone, well, not 3, sorry, it's more than doubled, because it goes from 2.5 million to 6.5. So you can do the calculation and see how much that has gone up. Now, that I looked at that, and I then went to see, I saw an interview with the person who I believe might have been director at some point in the past or present. And it says here, young talent. It involves activating young talent and an incubation of ideas and programs in innovation, science and technology, resource mobilization and fundraising, she said. Future Barbados actually started as an incubator when 25 young people were engaged to design solutions to national issues, such as activating the blue and green economy and reducing childhood obesity. And it goes on and on. Now, my question is, have there been any tangible results to show what these initial 25 young people came up with? Have they implemented any of their ideas such that they are increasing the budget? You know, what exactly is this? What are we paying for? I really am concerned that there's money allocated and it is, I presume it is spent, but again, can I find an annual report or some presentation which sets out what was accomplished by this initiative? You know, and I mean, that is one I flag, and I flag the GovTech one as well. Yes, tell us some more. Tell us what has come of these things, at what cost. I mean, I could go on and on, but
there seems to be a general attitude in this administration, Maxine, and not now. This is from before, of not being willing to give an account or an explanation or an aspect of transparency to what they're doing. It is almost as if, look, this is my idea, this is my job, it's my business. You know, I don't have to give an account to you. But when you look at the fact that at the end of the day, the taxpayers' money is being used, even if you have a loan, the taxpayers' money have to go toward paying that loan. And as a result of that, it is my view that there needs to be considerably greater accountability and explanation when it comes. And these are millions of dollars we're talking about. This is not 5 cents. These are multiplied millions of dollars.
Exactly.
And my concern is that, who's going to be, when you whenever that happens, when you demit office, who's going to be responsible for paying those loans? You know,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to take the opportunity to welcome Marcia.
Thank you.
She's had a really busy day, I would have to say, and it's good to see you
Yes.
finally make it and join us because
Yes.
I know there's just a lot.
Tough
I've
lately.
organized a lot of different things in my time, and I
Hmm.
know the time it takes and the involvement that is required to make things run and to make sure everything goes according to plan. So we really commend you and the loyal opposition and all of those who work so assiduously to put everything together today. I was there and I thought it was an excellent effort. And I thought it was very encouraging to the couple of candidates that I sat within. They were really encouraged, really, really encouraged. So kudos to you and the entire team for pulling off what you were able to do today. So welcome to your show.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ferdinand. Thank you, Miss McLean. Great to
You're
be here
welcome.
tonight and hear you trying to demystify mist. You know, mist is like this cloud that is hanging over this country. We don't know what it is, quite opaque. You know, it is this thing that, you know, all of these words are being spoken and we still trying to decipher what it's all about. I've been at this head of the estimate and still trying to figure it out and can't, you know, but I hear us tonight trying to. I'm telling you, I don't know if we're going to be able to, but I want to say it's great to be here. Thank you, Dr. Ferdinand, that we can call on you, and I can tell you I'll be calling on you tomorrow again, because you know today we had the appreciation for the DLP candidate. You were there, Miss McLean was there. I don't know if anybody else watching tonight was there, because they were telling me, Marcia, are you going on tonight? I'm going home to go watch the Marcia Week show. I'm like, I am still here trying to move the plants, Matt, and to take down the decorations with Angela and doing this and setting up for Tuesday. But they're asking me, Miss McLean, what they're telling me that they're going home to be on the Marcia Week show. So I had to call Dr. Ferdinand because I was going to cancel tonight. I said, Dr. Ferdy, listen, these people not letting up, right? Could you please do go on? Well, you know, Dave is preempting me here. And guys, we had an amazing time this evening, today, and we're going to have another great time on Tuesday night. But let's talk about, you know, what happened. Let's show a little bit. Let's show a little bit, Dave. Go ahead. So that's the candidates coming together there. Some were there earlier, and we did get some excuses from some. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
And pressure does not destroy the strong, it reveals them. Jason, you are still here. You're still waiting, you're still standing, and that matters to us. The Democratic Labour Party is not a memory. That I'm going to repeat. The Democratic Labour Party is not a memory. It is a movement. And movements do not die because of one loss. I mean, you had a couple, but it won't die because of a loss. They grow because of those who refuse, Corey, to quit. Andre, refuse to quit.
Jamal.
The work continues. The rebuilding continues. And the Democratic Labour Party continues. Felicia, thank you for standing. And I implore you to move forward. And I hope I didn't forget any name. Pedro.
Jamal.
And I said Jamal. Did I miss any names? Andrew. Where's Andrew? Okay, if I said Andrew, yeah. So move on together. God bless you. We love you, and we want to, we are staying on the outside and we're rooting for you.
Yeah, so that was just a little bit. Dave, you can just let it play without the audio a bit. And but we were there at Palmerine today, and it was a really wonderful feeling. The place was packed, as you can see, and there were still people trying to get tickets. If they had opened up, if they had more room, they didn't have any more room there to put any more tables, any more chairs. We would have still had people, because they were people wanted to be there. And I think one of the yes, I see Dr. Ferdinand, you're leaving us. Thank you so much, and get some rest, because we're going to need your help tomorrow. Thank you.
God bless. Have a great night, and I'll be keeping my eyes and ears nevertheless.
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
Thank
God
you.
bless. Bye-bye.
Yes. One of the things, Miss McLean, that I love about this that we're seeing on the screen is that it was an idea. Someone had an idea, and it moved from idea stage into reality, because people, citizens came together and they put, effort in it. And I want to thank Pauline and Margot and Angela and Cleveland. Thank you all so much. As a small team, but did so much work. That's Angela there. She is like so amazing in the hospitality and decoration. She was just in her element,
Yes.
And it was wonderful. Cleveland made all the meetings and everything. And look at him, he has his sax in his hand and he's playing his sax, and it was just a beautiful day. Yes, it was, Andrea. We had someone even came in, and I'm trying to remember her name, from the diaspora.
There were two of them sitting at the table that I sat at. They came in.
Two in, and even spoke. And I'm going to get the right name, because I want to give them. I know what somebody knows the name. If anybody who's listening and you know the name, you help me out. Please put it in the chat, or just okay. I'm listening to this now, Dave. Okay. But yeah. Yeah, but it was indeed an effort of everybody. The people in the diaspora, they came on board. The people in Barbados, the people who met me on the road, the man who met me on the street and tell me to meet him, and gave me that $100 for one candidate, I believe, and crying, tears in his eyes. He made me start to cry, Miss McLean, right there. I think we were in Christchurch. I will not forget it. And we held our hands, and he said, "Don't give up," and tell the candidates, "Don't give up." And to everybody, I say thank you on behalf of on behalf of the candidates, to promotional print services. Promotional print services right there in front of Things Gospel on the way actually. Where is that, Dave? What is the name of that street? Repeat. Hing Street. Promotional print services did an amazing job in providing some keepsakes for those candidates.
I like that. I like
Yes,
those.
you liked it, Miss McLean. Tell the people
Yes.
about it.
What it is it's a you call them not a bottle, a container,
A
water,
tumbler.
a tumbler, a large tumbler, but it had the photographs of each candidate, so it was personalized for the candidate, saying thank you. They were and the reproduction of the photographs, that reproduction was excellent. So I thought it was really, really nice, you know. So I want to say on behalf of the candidates, thanks, because I sat with a couple of people and they thought it was really, you know, they really appreciated it. So you probably may get a little glimpse of it here now. If not, if you would, oh, there it goes. Yes. So Roderick was able to turn his around and you can see, but I thought that was lovely. But Marcia, I really want to say thanks to you because, and to Dave. I mean, Dave is usually in the background working. Oh, there goes Paul with his, you know, but that was a nice touch, I must say, you know. But as I was saying, you know, Dave worked very hard. Dave in particular, we see you every night and we don't realize you come on the program all fresh and so on. But you would have been working all day. I mean, I left you there, came home and literally dozed off. And I doubt you had a chance to take a break, you know, and people, I don't think they have an idea how much is involved in even coordinating something like this. And then, you know, thinking in terms of what must happen tomorrow, capturing tomorrow's information, dealing with today, then preparing, you know, following again on a suggestion that you have a people's response, you know, and I can't say thank you enough. And I say that for Barbadians because I got there late. I missed out Cleveland's musical tribute because I was late. We had our harvest at St. Stephen today and, you know, and all of that. But there people stop you at, I mean, I'm leaving church and people say, okay, you know, they talk about the show. I say this the other time, I go to the supermarket, I go anywhere in public, I go to the beach, people watch the show. And again, as I said, after the election, we are back to where we were before. And the importance of the show is being reinforced one more time. So thank you. Look, my boy Dale is having fun.
you know, we could not do this without the help of every single one of you who's logged on tonight. Every one of you logged on. They are holding those tumblers, they're hot and cold tumblers with their candidate's picture that they use for their candidacy on there. And I think the name of their constituency and a thank you from the loyal opposition. And everybody had their tumbler there. And I just want to say, it is your giving. It is your donations. It is we wanted you to see this tonight. This is where the money goes, guys. You understand? And each of those candidates, they came and they had a lovely meal. I'm sure Dave is going to show us some of that, some of the meal that they had there at some stage. And folks, let me tell you, they enjoyed it. The meal was amazing and served by students, by the way. You know, I love that, Miss McLean. I love that part of it.
I'm glad that you chose there. I think it gave the students an opportunity to cater to, you know, the numbers, but it also gave them a good opportunity to really develop their skills. It really is an important part of their training. You could have gone to a regular business place, but to give them that opportunity is one that I trust the management and staff appreciate.
Yes,
You
Dave,
know.
if we could go back, I'm sorry, Miss McLean, I'm cutting you, but Dave, go back to the start of Pedro. This is Pedro Graves, another, I just love all of these young men, you know, they're beautiful, wonderful, decent young man, he is. And if you could go back to the beginning, did we get the beginning of his speech then? No more, okay, but Pedro Graves, you know, he went up and said a thank you to the loyal opposition on behalf of the candidates, and so we want to say we appreciate that. And you know, there is a charge. This is where she was giving the charge to them, Dave, or no? This is the end. Right, but there was also a very serious moment in there, Miss McLean, where they got, you know, those ladies on that team. They're not easy. They had their little they had a scroll, and in that scroll they had 10 commitments that they would need to go home. They needed to read them, think about them, and then sign it and keep it for themselves. What did you think about that part of the program, Miss McLean?
No, I think that's important. I believe that if people are serious about getting involved in politics, it is about a commitment to be a representative of the people, a champion of the interests and the causes that are important to people, and to capture it in a pledge. I mean, as Ms. Rock said, go home and read it and internalize it and commit to it. If you know, and so it's not just should I say an empty exercise. It is one that reminds the candidates of the need. Look, somebody that I know of the need to seriously reflect on the commitment that you are making. This is a major commitment. It is a sacrifice often, because people, if you are a good member of parliament, if you are a good representative in your constituency, because that is where it starts, then you are taking on a very serious responsibility. And so this is really allowing the candidates to stop and pause and say, let me reflect on what it is I'm supposed to do and how I'm supposed to do it, why I am in this, you know, and that's important. And I thought that was a good way to remind them and to give them something that they can reflect on periodically. So
Yes.
that was good.
Yes, and you know, we had I don't know if Dave could put up anything else. We had we didn't have everybody there, but everybody communicated to us on exactly why they couldn't. We had a candidate who is overseas, and they have their sister has just passed. And in fact, they were trying to get back in time. Didn't work out, but they were in touch with us the entire time. And I don't want to announce that because they would not need to announce it themselves. There are two candidates that were overseas. There's one who was actually in the hospital and came out only a couple of days ago. He was in the hospital for a week. And so we did have some, you know, and some of them had some prior commitments and so on, and could not be with us, you know. So we were in touch with all of them, and they were very gracious in letting us know what their situation was, and we're going to actually go and see them, and you know, and give them their goodies anything that they missed there. Some of them had awards. We also had some awards, but we weren't able to distribute those because those were some of them that were not there. Oh, thanks, Dave. Oh, these came from overseas. These are what we had at the table. So each table, Dave, if you go back to each table had a little what do you call those, Miss McLean? You put at the table. They had them there that says, thank you for being awesome. You know that you put in the center table, the centerpiece.
The centerpiece. Yeah.
So the centerpiece was thank you for being awesome. Thank you for you're amazing. Never forget who you are, these kinds of things. Very positive statements were put on each table. And this was the idea of the team. They wanted something to encourage them as they sat there. They also had a reserve seating for every candidate. Had reserve seating, and they in most cases they put them at the head of the table. It was a big table. Then they put them, they sat among. The point is that they sat among the citizens. They did not want to. That's Pauline on the screen, and Pauline was one of those. My goodness, I mean, she worked so hard. Everybody worked hard. That's Pauline there. That's Margot, and these ladies did not want them to sit. They didn't want them to sit on a table all by themselves. They wanted them to be mixed in with the, with the citizens. And I thought that was a great idea. And I believe it worked well because I saw people talking. They were talking to the candidates. And that's what it was. That was it about. It's about the people, right? And that's Margot, lovely Margot. Oh my God. Yes, she did a lot of the calling and reminding people, and oh my Lord, they worked so hard. She said to me, Marcia, I don't know how I got involved in this. How did I get involved in this? Oh my gosh, but yes, JC thought that was a great idea. But all of what we want, we like to show you these things, right? We're showing it to you because it is your donation, it's your ideas that we get a group of people and we try to bring them to reality. But it's your finances, it's your resources, it's your everything. This wonderful lady on the screen, this is Angela. And she's an interior decorator. You could tell from the way she looks. And she was in her element today, man. I tell you, you should see this lady moving. And what I love about this Miss McLean, you see me laughing and smiling here. You know that I am a person, I love to make something out of nothing. Right. And I believe, keep it there on this lady. I'm going to come back to her. I believe, Miss McLean, in the same way. I might be simplistic. Somebody might say I'm too simplistic. But I just want you to dream with me. I want you to dream with me that for every issue that we have in every parish in Barbados, even the St. Lucie brown water, the answer is within us. Miss McLean, okay. I believe if we put our minds to it, the same way this happened. The same way this happened. It can happen, Miss McLean. We can solve the problems, Yeah, your thoughts on that?
You are correct. You are correct. I agree with you. And it's the power of the mind, the power of the pooling of, we talk about the power. I talk about the power of pooling. And it's not only about pooling financial resources. It's about pooling ideas, intellectual capacity, pooling energies, physical, mental, you name it. You're correct. And we talk about solutions. We were talking about the oil spill the other day. The oil that over the years that on that mobile site, etc. And I mentioned a Barbadian. I took the time to follow up. In fact, he told me he was going to put together some updates for me. And, one of the things that he told me was, remember I mentioned Tobago? He has signed a 3-year contract for utilizing some of his products in Tobago. This is a Barbadian who was offering to do a number of things for Barbados. And, you know, I mean, well, he has business partners who really would have said to him, we were going to bend over backwards for your country and make certain things available. But he told me he think that train has passed, you know, I mean, where we might have gotten something done gratis and so on. So you are correct. We have it within us, whether it is people here. I mean, think in terms of all the help you get from Barbadians overseas. You know, when the ideas, the support, the fact that people catch a plane and come home to be part of this.
Yeah, and to talk about that, the name is Angela Ferguson, Miss McLean. Angela Ferguson is, and guess what? She actually spoke. I asked her to give some words of inspiration to the candidates, and she took the microphone and did an amazing job. I know she said at first she was a little nervous, but you know what I loved about her? I literally saw her position herself. She got hold of herself and she opened her mouth, and I won't forget that moment, Angela, because I could tell, you know, when she just said, okay, I'm doing this, and she stood there. Yes, she found something in her, Miss McLean, and she delivered what she had to say. And I'm gonna come back to how another interesting feature of the event that I like. But let me talk about this lady on the screen, Caroline Rock. Caroline, I tell you, this woman, you're gonna see her on the prayer tomorrow morning, and she comes on every morning for prayer. And this idea really came out of the prayer meetings we were having for the candidates, Miss McLean. And, you know, Caroline stepped up to it. She took a bus from St. Lucie this morning. Okay, she left home, I think it's 9 o'clock. Caroline, remind me. And if I'm wrong, or correct me if I'm wrong, and she came and took 2 buses to get there on time. To be the MC. She moderated. She did such an amazing job today because she understood the assignment. It's not somebody you took from outside, right? She understood exactly. Oops, Dave. Oops, something bad came on the screen there. That's, be careful. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, but really, you know, this is to see her making that sacrifice. Caroline, we are so appreciative of you. You carried that program because you had it inside your spirit. You knew exactly what to do and how to fill the gaps, and you made it happen. You're a fantastic MC, and you really, I was amazed. I was amazed at you. And when I had called her and asked her, she said, yeah, I can do it. I said, but you're going to get there on time. He said, Lucy, you're coming from, you know, why you don't let us come and pick you up? She said, I'm going to get there, Marcy. I'm leaving from 9 o'clock. And she was there on time.
Excellent job.
And didn't she do an excellent job, Miss McLean?
She did an excellent job. I told her, you know, because people don't appreciate the commitment that people have, because it's a commitment to Barbados, you know.
Yes, leave it there, Dave. Yes, thank you.
It's not a commitment to the Marcia Week Show. It's a commitment to making a difference in this country.
Yes. And, you know, on the screen, you see Dolores on the left. And, you know, Dolores is always praying. She's on with us on Friday mornings for prayer. And she was one of those who got that prayer session in the morning started through Dolores, actually, the promptings of Dolores. And even before we were going every day. And then, you know, she said to me, Marcia, after the elections, you know, you should carry it on at least three times a week. And that's what we're doing. And I am so grateful for Dolores and her commitment in praying for Barbados and praying for all of us. And she was there, dressed as she is there, but with a cross in her back here. She got a cross in her back. But this is Angela Ferguson, a beautiful Angela Ferguson, who came in, and she called me. She said, I'm here. I'm in Barbados. I'm coming. And so she was there, and she gave a little speech to the okay, Shirley says, I know Angela Ferguson, and she was here in time for the event. And we appreciate you, Angela, and your other friends who were with you. We really, really did. You know, Miss McLean, yeah, she always carries her cross. Bihoy, I know you would have loved to be here. You know, the other thing I loved about this Vihoy, and Shirley's overseas as well. That's her cross there. She's dressed up, but she put that cross on the back. That's a fashion statement to hear. That's fashion right there. Shirley, and for those overseas, Judy, I missed you, Judy. I missed you, Judy. And I missed Teroni as well. I was talking to Dave about that, but I did. I know I'm going to see you soon. But, Miss McLean, our team tried so hard to find a keynote speaker. We did not want a speaker from the DLP or strongly associated. We wanted somebody from the outside. But most of the people that we know, they're pastors, right? And so they would have had church going on, and so we weren't getting anywhere. And we thought we had somebody, and then the person messaged and said, "Unfortunately, I can't do it." And we're like, "Okay." But I had this, when I realized we weren't getting anybody, I said to myself, "I wonder if we're supposed to do this very differently." And you know what that was, Miss McLean? Asking the people who are sitting right there
to
speak. And they did a brilliant job. The people. And so I messaged them this morning and said, can you prepare a 2-minute speech? So we had about 7 persons, including my wonderful husband, who did a great job, I must say. We had about 7 or 8 persons speaking, and did a fantastic job. And this is, Miss McLean, this is what I am talking about. That we can't sit and wait on anybody to save us. It's us. We have to do it ourselves. And because we would have said we don't have a keynote speaker, but we had 8. And they joined their thoughts together and everything, and it was beautiful. And it's them, because it's something that they wanted, and they're able to share their hearts with the candidates. Some of it was a little hard. Some of it was beautiful. Some of it, they got a little, the candidates get a little of everything. Go ahead, Ms. McLean.
No, I think it was a good mix of advice, of messages of appreciation, messages of caution, concern, and reminders. So I thought that they all went down well. You have, as I said, if you're getting into the political arena, it should not be for personal gain. And so to be reminded of that, to be reminded of your purpose and so on, to express thanks for the sacrifices that are made. And so I think it was a good mix. A keynote speaker might have gone on a theme that might have been partially relevant, or a bit, for want of a better word, esoteric. But I just thought, and they were genuine from the heart, from the people that you say you want to represent. You have a cross section of comments, and I thought I liked it, actually.
Yes. Sonia said she wanted to speak as well, but she got there late. Yes, okay. But this is a concept, M. Gardner and everybody, that we are trying to. Dave, keep that picture on, please, because I'm going to talk about it. But I just want to talk about Tuesday night, Miss McLean. because everybody that's listening, that's the concept that we want.
Exactly.
We've been talking about the culture of silence, breaking the culture of silence. And that's what happened today. That's what happened today. Instead of one speaker, we had 8 coming from the people. We would have all sat there being silent, saying nothing, and somebody else was speaking for us. But no, we had 8 persons from among us who got up and spoke, right? And so I just want to say that on Tuesday, when we go up to the George Street Auditorium that Errol Barrow built, a place of civic engagement, community. We went up there after to plan, to set up. I'm going to show you where we went up there to set up, guys. And listen to me. Do you know we saw dancing happening in there, skating happening there? Those people are not DLP people. That's community. That's what it's about. But there is a lie that they want to tell you. Do not go up to the George Street Auditorium. They want to make you think that there is a leprosy up there. But it ain't happening. Not on our watch. We are not accepting those lies. These people who want us to stay away from George Street Auditorium are the same people that made the amendment to the Constitution and tell their people you can't cross to give an opposition. But we went down to the right after we left we left Palmerine, we pack up the plants, Miss McLean.
Okay.
Thanks to Landmark Nurseries. And he says I can mention his name, Landmark Nurseries. When you want your plants, that's where you go, people, because they support us. Landmark Nurseries. And we went there and left and put the plants in. We put in our couch and everything. And we saw the kids playing there. This is George Street. That they want to tell you there's no activity. They want to tell you that it is dead. They are telling lies, I tell you tonight. They are telling lies. Errol Barrow's vision is alive and well. Miss McLean, I tell you this.
I was going to say you can go there and there are weddings there. As you said, there's skating there every week. You go there, you see youngsters dancing. You go there, you see people doing karate, Of course, the party has its meetings there. We have a facility that no other political party in Barbados has ever had. And it was the idea to create a space for Barbadians together. I mean, and of course, when the party advertises its activities, you were there. It's community. It's the average Barbadian gets to come there and do that. And as you said, it has nothing to do with political persuasion. It has to do with a space where you can go and engage in activities of various kinds.
Yeah, I mean, there's even a road tennis court. Do you know there's a road tennis court inside there? Inside the auditorium, I was playing road tennis in there at one point. There's a road tennis court in there.
It's marked out.
Yeah, it's marked out inside, and there's a road tennis court on the outside because, as you know, the DLP has done a great job in establishing road tennis as a sport that children and teenagers and everybody love. It was always there, but you have to give Stephen Lashley.
Yes, he did a lot.
Those credits that he really made it professional and made tournaments and try to elevate it. That's us there trying to get the stuff in. That's a coach. Dave, we got the coach. That's Angela. Angela, at this hour, she is still dancing because she's in her element. Angela sees an empty space, okay? And that empty space, when you come there on Tuesday night, that we're not going to use up the entire place, okay? We're using a segment of it,
Section.
right? A section of that space, and you're going to see it transformed. I am telling you now, you're not going to believe it, Miss McLean. When you come and when you see it, you're not going
That's
to
right.
believe it, right? And we're going to get that place transformed. And you've got to come out and see it, and to see what we can do. We can take little and make much. We're taking little and we're making much. You understand? And so everybody, we want you to listen to the budget. Listen to the budget or read about the budget. Some of you don't
Yep.
like, I know you don't like to listen, but you can read about it. And
Yes.
we're going to try to be on tomorrow night as well. But you listen, take your notes and ask questions. You can send me some questions. You can write down your thoughts on what you want to say and come out to the George Street Auditorium. You don't have to be DLP to come out there, to be there. You know, and the worst thing that they made happen to me, Miss McLean, is for me to research on the life of Errol Barrow. That was the worst thing, because that's how I fell in love with Barbados. And every time I go up there, Miss McLean, I can tell you, they could go back and tell all of them, Jerome Walcott, all of them. As long as I am in Barbados, Errol Barrow's legacy will never, as long as I have life. I don't know about Miss McLean, but I can tell you now. I did the research. You can't take that out of my heart.
But you know, Marcia, people will try. It is a contradiction, because they will try to tell Barbadians, oh, that's past, when reference is made to his legacy, when reference is made to the philosophy that guided the policies that informed how he transformed Barbados post-independence, you know, successive governments, etc. Yet, the Prime Minister, and I heard the Prime Minister in the Well of Parliament referring to the first speech that he gave as Prime Minister. It was in December at that time, to the United Nations General Assembly, when he talked about our foreign policy being, and you know, the nature of our foreign policy, when he talked about being satellite, friends of all and satellites and none, etc. But the Prime Minister would want to take onto herself and her party those philosophical moorings that are very much part of the Democratic Labour Party, but will tell people, oh, the young people do not know about Errol Barrow. It is for us to educate them. Nobody is saying that you're trying to do what he did in exact fashion. What you're saying is understand what he meant, or what his thinking was about, and how it influenced policy then, and how those fundamental principles can influence new policies, because those principles are still important to the well-being of Barbados. We talk about a just society, you know, so, and you did the in-depth research, so you can appreciate
Yeah, you
the
know,
significance of these things.
Miss McLean, I am telling you now, and even I went up there again tonight, and I said, you know, I am sorry for them. So go and tell all of them. I know they were checking to see if my name was on the register. The people that they said to check it, come back and tell me, the young people, to see if I'm registered, if I was a member. I am not a member of the DLP, but I tell you something, and I'm very serious about it. The legacy of Errol Barrow will not die on my watch. I am sorry if I have to do a little bit, Miss McLean. And you know, all you've got to do is research it. I didn't grow up with Errol Barrow. I didn't know nothing about Errol Barrow until Dave will have to tell me the year. I can't remember. It was I don't remember what, 2013, I think, or 2014 when we did Chrissy. Because we did the film in 2016, right, Miss McLean?
Yes.
Was it year of the 50th? I didn't know. I didn't know anything really. I honestly didn't know. I just knew that he was the first prime minister of Barbados. My children told me when they came home from school, as I was,
Well,
like I was helping them with social studies as they were studying at Bailey's Primary, and I saw that he loved to cook, and that he wrote a book about, a cookbook, and that he was a pilot. And so that's all I really knew about the man. And so it wasn't until I found a book, and I've said it many times, so I don't want to bore you with the story, and read it several times and crying and reading it. I was so impacted. So there's nothing this administration can come, it can't take that off my heart. You understand what I'm saying? And yeah.
And I am a child of, I tell people I went to secondary school the year Barbados became, I went to secondary school, I went to Queen's College in September 1966, and Barbados became independent that year. I am one of 11 children that my parents had, and I know what something like universal free secondary education meant. My first brother who happened to be 20 years older than I am, well, he's passed now, went to Commonwealth, but he couldn't stay there. You know why, Marcia? Because my parents couldn't pay the fees. You understand? But I lived to see the second half of us go to secondary school and not having to pay for it. And that made a difference. And when you look at those things, I grew up I am a Black Rock person. I grew up at the bottom of what I would call the university. I was a child when our barrow turned the sod to construct the university, the Careful campus of UWI. We used to go up there to pick dunks as children. I saw what it meant. I know what he said about education. I know what he's done and so on. And there's some interesting things. We've talked about education, transformation, but we were talking in these estimates, we were talking about primary school, nursery school, etc. We have not had a chance to talk about University of the West Indies. And there are some misrepresentations of facts that have to be corrected. And there's also some revelations of what is going on now. And when people want to challenge me at the university, I tell them, Marcia, I have a 51-year relationship with UWIKFL, and nobody can't take that from me neither. I was there as a student 51 years ago. And I have a commitment to university. And when I open my mouth to talk about what's going on at university, nobody can come and tell me any foolishness about the love for all that was done and needs to be done. And what is not being done now is something that people will have to hear about. All of that is very much tied in to the legacy of our barrow. And people will want to say that we abandoned that. We did not, because our barrow himself had something to say about tertiary education and the ability to do certain things. And I challenge the people who run in the university, come and tell us exactly what is happening, because that is my beloved university.
Yes.
You understand?
Yep. And, with Palmerine, we were at Palmerine. And I just want to say something here on it. If Dave could put this back up, because, there's nothing like history. And they want to erase history. These people want to make us believe that what we are experiencing now, this is no time in Barbados like this ever before. We are the innovators, and anything that has happened, you got to come through mystified. It got to come through mists. It must be dirt that's showing up, like him throw up dirt and it coming like mist in front of us. Mm-hmm. And guess what? It has never been done before. In the last 7 years, you've never had it this good. You see this Palmerine here, the people that it's dedicated to. When you go inside this beautiful building here, and we had beautiful service there by young people who are students. And it is, if Dave could go to, I think I showed it at the beginning, Dave. I think you're going to find it. Thanks so much, Dave. Jean and Norma Holder. Now, Jean Holder was a minister, and I believe of foreign affairs. Am I not right, Miss McLean, or wrong?
No, he was not. He was not a minister. He's very much
was
involved
not.
with tourism. I will get you some background information on
Yes,
it.
I interviewed him for the Errol Barrow film. I went to his home, etc.
He worked in the public service.
Public service. Okay.
And
So
yes, and
yeah, so find the information for me. Thanks for that correction. But Jean Holder was a very worked in very closely with the Democratic Labour Party, worked very closely with Errol Barrow, and he was married to this woman, Jean Holder. Sit down and wait for it. Jean Holder, who was a Jamaican.
No, Jean Holder was the guy. It was Dr. Jean Holder, the male. His wife.
Norma Holder. I can mix it up. And the names. I'm sorry. And I did it to the other. Right. I'm sorry, guys. Jean Holder is a male. I'm sorry. I because they have Jean and Norma, and Jean is a unisex name. I'm sorry, guys. Norma Holder is one of those persons, a main person responsible for the development of this institute. You see here, Norma Holder. Norma Holder was from Jamaica. I went to their home. I met them before they passed. She was also an organist to one of the Methodist churches here. That's them. A Jamaican, a Bajan Jamaican, fell in love with Barbados, loved Barbados, and worked hard to develop this institute that we went to today. So at what you're finding, at the Palmerine Hotel, you have students, and students are serving you, and they did such a great job, right? So this is the two. One is a unisex name, so pardon me, I mixed it up earlier. I confused it. So Jean is the male. He is Barbadian, married to a Jamaican, Norma Holder, and they were associated with the Democratic Labour Party, just so you know, because some of you want to think that the party have leprosy. Okay? And you feel like you don't want to associate everything or whisper. Some of you will not come down there on Tuesday because it's at the DLP at there. There is a George Street auditorium that we rented with our own money, yeah, and that you can rent and have something there as well. All right, and so these were DLP people. So don't let them fool you and think that what they're doing has never, what they're doing right now. This is the animal farm, right? They're urinating on you and telling you this is a beautiful rain. This is rain. You're gonna grow from this. This is beautiful. Huh?
How are you doing?
Yeah, and this institute is being run up to this day. Yes, Norma Holder. Okay. Yes, thank you. The Secretary General, yes, of the CARICOM Tourism Organization, and he was
tourism.
Yes, and
he was there from the inception. He was one of the first.
Yes. So this is Jean Holder. If Dave goes back to the picture, and this is Norma Holder. Beautiful Jamaican lady. And so when you talk, when this is not the first time a Jamaican, listen, the Jamaican has fell in love with Barbados and contributing to Barbados. Give me a break. Get your history right. Go and tell all of them. Get your history right. Why they didn't put her out? Why didn't put her out? I'm contributing in a different way. Putting some fire under your tails that you do the right thing. That's all. You don't like it. That's what it is. But this woman, and was
principal Barbados Community College?
And the
Principal
principal
Barbados,
of Barbados
Barbados
Community
Community
College,
College.
a
Because
Jamaican woman.
And we also would have had Sir Lloyd's wife. She would also have been at BCC. I think she was principal as well. Also from Jamaica, in case you don't know.
I need to look into all of these Jamaican women who have been here
It's
and
the
contributed.
Mona connection, Marcia.
I know, but we don't want to go there because that could be contentious. But I'm saying that we have a strong relationship with Jamaicans, okay, and that has been historic, and we do not. What I realize with this administration, Miss McLean, if you're not careful, they want you to think that everything started when they came into power. And
It's
it is
about
a
trying
lie.
to rewrite history. It's about trying to rewrite history, but it will not work.
It is not going to
Truth
work.
does not get stale. It may get
No.
distorted from time to time, but
No, so
it will preserve truth.
I'm here trying to get Barbadians to speak up and Barbadians to stand up for their rights and Barbadians to understand what is going on. And you're going to vilify me because I'm Jamaican. No, go back in your history and look at all of those women who were here and how they contributed. So this is not new, right? And that's what I love about history. Don't believe them. It's a bunch of, they're telling pure lies. You understand me? Go and read for yourself. That's what you get on the Marcia Week Show. We educate, we motivate, we mobilize, we agitate. We're not into misinformation. We're not into misinformation like what this government is doing. When you look at MIST, we don't have the time to go into all of it because you can't even go into it. It's so much. It's a mystery of what they're doing there, and we're going to have to break that down. We have to sit on that mist for a long time, Miss McLean, because I know you were Minister of Foreign Affairs, but you were not elected. You were appointed, right? So those online trying to say that I don't know that people can be appointed and not elected. I'm very much aware of that. We have a beautiful lady sitting on.
Talking to one.
Every night, I'm very much aware, and so those who are talking about misinformation, I very much understand. Get the point I am making. The point I am making is that listen, you have somebody appointed, Miss McLean, and is getting all their ministry is more than what the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is receiving, okay? We don't understand what the ministry about, even their own colleague. Listen to their colleagues. They were drilling him with questions because you can't understand. It's mysterious. His own colleagues were trying to demystify MIST. This is Jonathan Reed I'm talking about.
The person to go back and watch the question. It's interesting to watch the questions because it is clear that people are trying, as you say, to understand why is it that this ministry is getting in fact, as I said, add those two ministries together and you can put another one probably in there. And it is not only the amount of money, it is significant, but the question is, what are you doing with it? And it is interesting who is in charge of that ministry. And so there's the reality is that it has been it's not unusual, it's not new that you have ministers appointed from the Senate. I don't think that is the key point you were making.
That's
you
not
were
the
looking
point
at
I'm making.
that's not the point you were making. Exactly. But I guess people will try to distort what you're saying to suit their purpose. But I want, and I repeat it again, for those people who are unsure why or who are questioning why we may be seeking to get these answers, go and listen to the colleagues of Minister Reed quizzing him about the ministry. Go and listen to his opening remarks. go and listen to his comments and come back and tell us, are you comfortable that you understand that you know what this ministry is about? You're comfortable that the allocations will be are likely to generate results that are going to be maximally beneficial to this country, and that would justify those allocations in the way that they've been allocated, and to whom they've been allocated, and for what purposes, etc.
Exactly. And, you know, some of his own colleagues, I can tell you, are concerned that he never hit the streets. He never knocked on a door or anything. Not that anything is wrong with that, because we've seen that over and over again. And people who have not been elected are being appointed to a ministry, and they've done, you know, a great job. The issue with this young man is that we have never seen anything. He doesn't have a track record. And I'm going to be real. And Ms. McLean, you know that I love young people. So I am not, and this is not personal, Jonathan Reed. And to all of your friends that are online, you know, just want to, you know, come at people. Listen, I have no personal issue with Jonathan Reed, but come on, for the life of me, what is his track record now? Let's be real about this. To be in charge of such a large ministry, there's so everything about this ministry in Barbados has to do with where Barbados is going in the future, and the amount of money that he's asking, that they are in the estimate. So they're requesting this, right, Ms. McLean? They have not been. It's not been allotted yet.
Well, it will be approved.
It's going to be approved.
It's going to be approved. And even if there are adjustments, the reality is it is one of those ministries that is getting a significant amount of money. You know, if you look, I'm just looking at it. The Prime Minister's office gets $559,293,000. And under that falls, you know, you can look and see where that is supposed to be, what falls under there. If you look at the Ministry of Finance is getting $505,604. Again, you can look and see where that goes, you know. Then you have the Ministry of Tourism. Let me see if I can find what that is. The Ministry of Tourism gets, Marcia, gets $31,572,453. Now, I let's say 32 million. Now, the question I asked, because we asked it before when we talked about tourism, can we find information which tells us how much money the BTMI gets? Because remember, they are funded that's not a government department, that is funded. But even then, look at the amount of money. I mean, that's you know, I would like to be able to add the money that the Ministry of Tourism gets to what BTMI gets, because this is, you know, and so on, and compare it with this ministry. Now, this is where access to annual reports, etc., are critical. Access to reports which tell us about finances, because remember, BTMI would have been promised monies from certain levies or whatever. So these are the kinds of things that we need to delve into. But I mean, so in other words, if you add the Ministry of Tourism by itself, forgetting BTMI, and the add what's allocated to the Ministry of Energy, business, what they call it, energy, business development and consumer affairs, and that's 81. And you add foreign affairs, which is about 80. You can add half of the minute and then half of the ministry. So you can look at it in relation to other allocations. It's a lot of money. You know, and when you look at the explanatory notes, there are very, very few, well, they're not explanation, very few notes with little or no explanation as to how those monies are to be utilized. And that is concerning because it is not it is not of the magnitude of 31 million. You're talking about 185 million.
And Miss
That's about
McLean,
6
apart from the money, I mean that is something for us to listen for tomorrow as it in the budget. You must understand that this mist, which is, I said, it is a mystery because we don't understand what is going on in that ministry. This ministry is supposed to control our data.
Yep.
I'm all for young people, but where is the track record? He was a personal assistant to the prime minister. How did he get? Where's the qualification? Our digital identity? That's the ministry that he governs. Online speech laws. So now you're talking about cyber crime. So all of that is in his ministry. This young man. I'm all for young people.
Marcia,
believe me, I am.
If this was a young man who haven't been given a ministry, I don't know how many months it was before the election, there was silence. I tried to hear him in the Senate. I didn't think he spoke very often. I didn't hear him speak to the media about the ministry. The point I'm making, this you can have a person who, and as you say, the track record may be such that let's forget his track record before even coming into the ministry. He doesn't have a track record to speak of. What did he achieve? What did he do in that to demonstrate this continued confidence in terms of that? Well,
I think Barbadians.
Maybe,
go ahead.
It is. No, I would say maybe it will be. Let you go ahead. Let me think through exactly what I want to say before I say it. You go ahead.
Well, let me just continue to select Barbadians why this is alarming. It is alarming, and I'm telling you tonight, March 15th, Sunday night, 9:44. We're going to hear. Give it a little time. You're going to hear the same rubbish that happened down at Greenland before, and it's stink to the high heavens is what going to happen with this mist. The mist that you're going to smell, you hear me? It's not the fumes from Greenland. Watch and see what's going to happen, because these people that are over there, listen to the buzzwords. They are not qualified to do. And you could go and call me all the name you want to call me. It's my opinion. And I just have to look at what he has accomplished. Look at his track record. A wonderful young man. AI systems, telecommunications. Give me a break. Give me a break. You understand? And you're not going to stop me because they put out some bulldogs out there. Some of the BLP people out there to say that it's misinformation, and I'm not calling anybody name because I don't want to give, you have these politicians, Miss McLean, that are looking for, relevance. They're washed up politicians. These are people who are has-been, who are trying to come back, to find a place back, and trying to put my name in their mouths to give them relevance. So I won't even put their name in my mouth to give them any relevance, but to say that I recognize what you're trying to do. You're trying to get up. And I did tell Mr. Bob I'm not going to touch on it, but Mr. Bob, I'm not calling the name. I am just saying, okay, that you could label this whatever you want to label it. You're not going to stop me from asking very important questions about the qualifications of this young man to do all of what they have, what he is being asked to do. This doesn't make any sense. He was the personal assistant to the prime minister. So is it that the prime minister who's really in charge of this ministry? Because she herself is not qualified to do it. She herself is not qualified to do this. And I see around the same young man some people that I know them from so long ago in different circumstances. And they are very good at throwing out from back then, Miss McLean, since I've been here. All they throw out is buzzwords. Everything that new come on the scene, they're doing it. And you never see anything concrete from the start one thing, and once that wears off, they move to another thing. That's the people I see around this young man. And I'm saying this is going to be a disaster. You wait and see. So yeah.
I as you were speaking, I went and I Googled to get some idea about this. Remember, Greenland is in St. Andrew, if I know my geography. The topography of St. Andrew. Remember when they were looking to, let me back up, when they were looking to do the waste disposal, the garbage thing, they were talking about land slippage and all of that. We have seen it as a schoolgirl. I go back to that. In geography, we were warned about the risk of that part of Barbados slipping away and all kinds of slippage and so on. And I'm here reading this, and it is an article from Barbados Today. Minister unveils $188 million plan to build a world-class digital economy by 2030, written by Ricardo Roberts. And it says, leading the plan is a massive data and green power center in the north of the island, MP served. It was the Ministry of Industry, Innovation, Science and Technology turn to take the floor, etc., seeking whatever. It goes on to say the project is designed to scale significantly to meet both public and private needs, with a 100 kilowatt system to be installed and later developed into a 15 megawatt data center. The first 5 megawatts will be developed and owned by the government, while the remaining 10 megawatts will be open to private investors. The site will carry both an AI compute, cloud services, and also green electricity. The BIDC CEO explained, this is Mr. Mark Hill, I presume is still the BIDC CEO. Quote, computer requires high levels of electricity, so that location gives us enough space to be able to power the compute and be able to scale. Site clearing at Greenland has already commenced. Hill anticipates a rapid deployment of the first layer of compute power, marking the beginning of a new era for the North.
Miss McLean, are you there?
St. Lucie, St. Peter, and St. Andrew. I don't know. I am not not even a geographer, but I'd like to ask Mr. Hill, just quickly, one question. How challenging might be the soils and so on, etc.? What are the implications for that ability to do whatever it is? Because what?
You are breaking up, or is it me, Dave?
Impact assessments.
Okay, she dropped out. Can you hear me? Am I on? Okay, I'm clear. Okay, so Miss McLean just having a little thing, because can I tell you something that happened to me? And I want you to understand this thing that's going on here. Let me leave it, because some of you are going to think I'm making these things up, right? But another night I'm going to tell you. There's a reason Miss McLean is dropping out right now. I can tell you what the reason is, okay? And they will go ahead and they're going to label this misinformation, but it's my experience. My experience with this particular ministry, Miss McLean. When you start to research it, and if you use AI to research it, I find that the AI doesn't want to do it. It is. I will have to explain to you. I'm just going to start the conversation here tonight, and I'm telling you guys, that's why this AI thing. If you use, if you use AI to try to really get into this,
There
AI
we
don't
go
want to
then.
do it. AI don't want to do it. And so if you guys think that this is a joke, I think Miss McLean is tough. But let me just tell you this here, guys, because we're gonna sit down on this. We're gonna sit down on this here on the show.
Press
This country, you're
Press
speaking, Miss McLean?
on.
Dave, can you hear her? All right. Okay, let Miss McLean has to go out and come back again. All right. Let me just say to you folks before you go, and we're gonna just touch on this, but we have got to stay here, and you have to go and do homework on this. Everybody's got to do homework on this data center that they're trying to set up there in Greenland that they've started. They've started it all around the world where data centers are being established. People are worrying about massive electricity demand. They are concerned about the environmental impact. Go and tell that globe-trotting environmental queen. Okay? Go tell the globe-trotting environmental queen about the environmental impact of that data center that they are trying to build there in Greenland. There is water usage, massive water usage that is needed for cooling. These are facts, not misinformation. We're talking about heat discharge. Madam Globe-trotting climate champion, did you research this and see the carbon footprint that it creates? My own son, youngest son, was explaining this to me months ago and how dangerous it is. Right? So in a small country like Barbados, we have to be concerned, can the grid handle this? Will it increase our electricity costs? The claim about renewable energy, is that what is really powering it? Is renewable energy really powering anything in this country? What of significance? You understand? There's so many issues with this. And we are not the only ones asking questions about it. So where's the misinformation? You having water consumption in drought-prone areas. People having problems with water in those areas near Greenland. But you're going to you go to set up a data center that is going to be so reliant on massive amounts of water. Have you done an environmental impact assessment for it? Or as you, Madam PM, you're in charge of town and country planning, so you just went ahead and you just gave it to them to do? As you tried to do with Drill Hall, and we caught you, and you went and took down the sign, Madam PM. You took down the sign days before election, remember? I went there with a camera because the people in the community saw what you were doing, saw the mischief you were doing. You thought you were going to get away with it, but you ran and took it down the sign. And here you go again, Miss Environmental Queen, traveling the globe. And you did you do an environmental assessment on this? This is a very serious thing that is happening. And they are taking this up and trying to convince us that Jonathan Reed is who's in charge of this. And want to come to send out your BLP wannabe or has been mash up, drop off the truck politicians to try to tell me, to say that I am promoting misinformation. From a has-been politician wannabe, drop off the truck, mash up politician, a BLP one. Nonsense. I say to everybody, go and research data centers. Yes, I understand that we want to go into the future. They say, oh, we've got to go get with the program. We've got to get with the program. We understand that, but you're dragging the people. There's no education. You're dragging us, and we must agree with everything. And that's why under this ministry, after they want to bring all of this surveillance and everything on us, they're telling us that part of this data center will be privately owned. Huh? Our data. You think you're going to shut me up? You make a sad mistake. It's my Facebook page and my channel, and you can do what you want to do. Miss McLean, you're back, and we are out of time. I have 2 minutes. I leave that to you.
No, I think that I will follow on from what you were saying. As we look at this ministry, we have to ask ourselves, what exactly is the focus? Now, you have touched, in fact, that article that I referred to, where they're reporting from the minister's comments in Parliament, in the estimates debate,
Yes.
is that the heart of this is the creation of this data center. Now, they are going to a place where it was not safe to put garbage, but they're going to go to create a facility that is supposed to be super secured, not only technologically, but the physical infrastructure, to a place where, and you mentioned the use of the power and water are very big elements in there, depending on the design of what you're doing. Tell us how you're planning for those things. What are the safeguards? Why is it there as opposed to anywhere else, given the history of Greenland, given the geology and the geography of that part of Barbados? You know, I have come to hear a lot of long talk from the people at the BIDC. I've listened to Mr. Marhill. I listened to him recently talking. I want him to report accomplishments. Mr. Hill, I've spoken to you on a one-on-one on many occasions, and I heard some nice ideas coming from you years ago. But I have sat and I have waited patiently to see the results of some of those ideas. You're no longer a private entrepreneur. You are a man who is guardian of taxpayers' dollars. And I hear a lot of jargon, but I have not been seeing the results. And this is another area. But now we're talking about a lot of money. A lot of money. And we're talking, you know, it's almost a sense of deja vu for me, because I remember all that transpired around Greenland. You can go back and look at the amount of money spent. There are people down there paying as security for years. I'm sure now they started work down there, so they may be the expenses may be shifting to a new ministry. But a lot of millions of dollars have been wasted on that. And I worry that this is going to be Greenland 2.0.
Listen,
you
Miss
know?
McLean, I can tell you because and we've got to end this here, but some of these people, that there are some people, Miss McLean, they're dreamers. All right. You and I, we've done some work together, and one of the things, listen, there is dreaming, and there is, as we were discussing, moving an idea, right, from thought, right, into actuality. You have people that are dreamers, and it is these dreamers that they have put all of this money. This is what we're telling you, folks. These are dreamers. They have not completed. They have not. They haven't completed a full anything. They haven't anything. Show us something. You started, and let us see the end. All of these ideas. You start something, close on. You start. That's it. And those are the people that we are to trust with this thing. And let me tell you, some of these people, I'll end on this because you could tell Miss McLean, I'm going to stay on this for months. Listen, some of these people, Miss McLean, I realize what they do. The latest thing that comes around with the buzzword, they jump on that because that's where the money is. They put a lot of money in those areas. Do you understand? And they jump around it like bees to honey. Okay? And then when it fails, who is left with the bag? Miss McLean, the taxpayers.
Exactly.
The taxpayers left with the bag. And people are asking questions. Here come these, Mr. Bob wrote, washed up, drop off the truck politicians, right? BLP, because we knew you were always BLP. You could have dressed up in a yellow and blue, all you like. You know very well. When you look in the mirror, you know yourself, right? And you come in now to think they hold you and dash you out. Don't let me start here. Let me leave you. We won't give you any energy, right? Because you are trying to be relevant. You're trying to be relevant. That is your thing. So I won't even bother with you. But Miss McLean, I want to tell everybody, Barbados, you need to research this on your own. Go and research the data center. Look up the protest. I had, as I said, knew nothing about it. It's my 22-year-old son started to tell me about it. Okay? So go and research it yourself. Ms. McLean, you have the final word. And please invite them out again for Tuesday.
Well, no, I would say, listen, go and research this. This is a big issue. Listen tomorrow to hear what the budget will portend for us, what it will bring, and come out on Tuesday and have your say, either in person or, as Marcia says, share your thoughts. George Street Auditorium is open to the public. The Marcia Week Show paid for it. It is serving the purpose that it is intended to make way for people. It's a community forum on the national budget. We are the ones who will be either assisted by it or hurt by it. And therefore we have the right to say, as taxpayers, as consumers, as citizens of this country, as parents, as workers, as employers, you name it, we all have multiple interests in what is happening. And we are at a juncture in the world situation that we cannot afford to waste the little resources we have as a small country. And it is our responsibility to make sure that our taxpayers' dollars are put to good use. Marcia, thank you for creating this opportunity. I will be there.
Yes. Oh, thank you, Miss McLean. Thank you, Miss McLean. She will be there, and you know what? As you know, what I've said it. We've tried to use some other people on the panel because we want that feeling that people recognize that it's not a us and them. you know, and so, but I know you will be there giving your comments in the audience and setting us straight and right. So we're happy to have you there as well, Miss McLean. Very well, thank you, Dave. Oh my goodness, Dave, I know we're all tired, but you got a little nap and you got back up and showed the videos. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Somebody said, Marcia, oh Lord, why you have to call Dave name so much? Dave, do this. Dave, but what am I going to do? I can't do it. It was so funny.
It just shows that tape too. I mean, Dave is the anchor in the back,
yes,
making it all happen.
Yes, it is. We do it together, and you and yourself as well. I could not. You were tired too, and you got up and came on, Dr. Ferdinand, at the last minute. And I'm going to depend on you all again tomorrow night, along with Glyde Murray, because I know I'm going to be late in coming on because I'm getting George Street Auditorium ready. All right. We like excellence. We believe in excellence by the grace of God. So we're doing our best to transform it, Miss McLean. The pictures that I see, you're going to be shocked. You're going to be shocked.
Nice.
All right. Bye-bye. I love you, Barbados.
Thank you very much. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Yes. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. See you.
Thank you. Sorry, we want to say thank you each and to every one of you. I am nervous now. It's a very long road, and in politics, as you know, there are going to be jabs coming from everywhere, but we have to stay focused, and we have to think on the people. We have to reach out to the people. So as we go forward from now, I would encourage every one of you to go out, meet the people, talk to the people, invite the people, embrace the people, and do as much as you can to be kind and to be, of course, you're going to be honest. You do all of these wonderful things, and guess what? It comes right down to you. Be positive. Always be positive. Sometimes you get up in the morning, it'll be raining, but you know what? It'll be sunny again. So we have to think that way. And again, I want to say thank you to every one of you and all the supporters. Thanks.
Angela Ferguson, she is from the diaspora. She came all the way to give you those words of encouragement. I hope you're really listening and understanding that you are needed, you are loved, we care for you. Everything you have done, but we're still looking for you to represent us when that time comes. And as Dave said, he was speaking about Hussein Bolt. But there comes a time when Hussein Bolt was no more. But the Democratic Labour Party still is. I'm going to invite Serena Archer to come and show her appreciation by song.